Unless you show that part.
All right, sound is
We
going.
have a specific document that shows where all 4 people go. So that's the next step. We
These
good?
are unmuted. We're good. It's recording. You're good to go.
Thank you, Megan.
Absolutely.
I'd like to apologize for the late start due to computer issues, but we're all on board. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. If we'd all stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, please come and join us at this meeting. Help us to make good, wise decisions, and please bless our community, our seniors, our staff, and all the board members. In Jesus' name, amen.
Roll call, please.
Treasurer Roland Lynch. Director Lori Sesney. Director Ty Damon. Director Pam McKinnon. President Phil Potter.
Here.
Vice President Dolores Schlicker.
Here.
Secretary Robert Turek, present. And Member at Large Commissioner Carolyn Brumman.
Here.
And Director Leroy Perrin and, no, not Leroy Perrin, Leroy Pinder and Kelly Von Fittola, both are absent, excused.
Thank you. Need approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Motion by Ty, seconded by Roland to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. You have a minutes from our April 22nd meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the April 22nd meeting.
I'll second.
Motion by Pam, seconded by Dolores to approve the minutes from our April 22nd regular board meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Public comment, limit 2 minutes per person. Would you like to state your name and your township? Go ahead.
Judy French, Haynes Township. I see on the agenda about the naming of the project building. And I know that you had discussed like Sunrise Center before, and I would hope that maybe you steer clear because of Alpena having a Sunrise Center that's like a rehab place or something, and that could cause some confusion. Because of that, maybe try to avoid Sunrise altogether. Does it really have to have a name? This building doesn't have a name. This is ACCOA. So you could just do that, or if you have to have a name for it, maybe something like the Village Center. You know, Village still, one, because it's still like in the Village of Lincoln, but two, Village, bringing people together so you still have that community aspect of it. So just my thought on the naming.
Thank you. Anybody? Becky?
I have no comments, just here if you have questions.
Larry?
Nothing yet today.
So at this time, I'll close the public comment and move to presentations. Construction Manager Andy Shaw.
Thank you, Phil. So on the residential, we're basically finished. We just have to do a little bit of topsoil work when we do it for the overall center. And then a second coat of asphalt that we'll put down again when we do it for the whole center. Going to the main building, we've got our water and sewer, everything functioning well there. We're got the internet connected to their overall system and all the way into our computer room. And so there's a live cable that's right to the computer room. And so the next step there is they'll put the modem in, and then we'll be able to fire things up. So I keep checking with them, and they're just getting real close. So, you know, any day they could show up, and it shouldn't be much to put that modem in there. On the residential side, we had a quote of around 64,000, 65,000 to put in the, for Spectrum to do the work to put the internet back there, which we couldn't afford. And then we're super blessed that we got it into the building. And then when we were doing it, I had them have to leave a connection point to go back to the residential. And then we've got another fellow handling the residential, and we've got no charge, knock on wood, for that right now. So they're working on, that's in the engineering department right now, and they'll just work on bringing it from the building back to the houses. And go ahead.
Comment.
Anyhow, so that's where we are in the internet. And I think, timing wise, we'll see when it gets fired up back there, but that's coming along. That was just great news when I saw that quote come through, and a little pricey on the monthly side of things, but no charge for install, which was fabulous. So that's that. And then inside of the building, I kind of take from the north to the south. So in the gym area, they have a bunch of tape down, and they have like the first phase of the line painting. And there's a 4-man crew there this week from Kuhn Flooring. And they said that they're either going to be able to finish this week, or they'll be a couple days into next week. And that'll be the floor all done. And then we'll bring Griffin Sports back, and they'll put in the pickleball net stanchions, and then some of the other stuff, the scoreboard, and a curtain and cushions, a few things like that. So they'll be the following week as soon as we get in. Also in the gym area, we're doing the final connection on the fire suppression. So there's a huge pump in there and some piping that goes to the actual water tank. And there's a fellow that's got about a week's worth of work in there. He should be starting today. And he'll just be focused right in that general area, just working on finishing the fire suppression. And then on the fire alarm side, we just got a few more wires to run and a few more alarm bells to put in, a couple pole stations, and then we'll be starting that up. Just kind of, it's a whole sequence of things we have to go through, but that's underway. So then when you get into the locker room area, pretty much down there, like 99% finished. So we're just in there doing final touch up. But if you were to walk into where the showers are, you see shower curtains, the seats, the showers are cleaned and functioning. Ran out of code base, which is the rubber material that goes on the thing. So we've got Kohl's getting us 5 more boxes, and we got just a little bit to finish in there. And then final clean, and then just a couple of, we're just short a couple grab bars and a few things like that. But the overall locker areas are just at the 98, 99% neighborhood. Then when you go into the yoga room, we still have to put the floor in. That'll be this week. We had part of our crew left town, and I cajoled a couple of them to coming back. So we've got this thing where there's another job starting, and all these guys, which I knew were going to this other job, and thank goodness for our perspective, it got delayed a little bit. So we've got a few guys straggling back, and hopefully it'll just work out just right where we'll have the right amount of guys we need to get our stuff finished before they then move on to the next job. So that's and stuff like that is just all the miscellaneous stuff that we have to get done. Then when we go into the game room, by the end of today, the game room should basically be finished. So we've got the carpet in there. We're doing final clean and leveling on the various pieces of equipment, a little bit of touch-up painting, and just a couple more sensors, and so that'll be done. Over the weekend, we took all of our fitness equipment. So if you were to, Phil was in the fitness area, so we have all of our treadmills, weights, all the various bits of equipment, and they're about 50 to like 75% assembled. So it's kind of like when you get something, the one arm that sticks out is not on. So we've got some work to put that together, and probably about a week's worth of work to do assembly. But that's, the ceiling is in there, the floor, the code base, the lights, and what have you. It's just a matter of final assembly. So that should be done. And then as you move to the offices, talked to Bill G from Alpena over the weekend, and he's got everything finished. So all the, Wendy's going to take a walk through, but as far as he believes, all of his furniture is assembled, and everything that is new is ready to go. We've got a little bit of touch up on the offices. It just always happens that when you're assembling furniture and what have you, you just get nicks and what have you. So we got our final touch-up painting in there. A couple of ceiling tiles got to drop and just a couple of electrical sensors. And so that's the office area looking good. In the dining area, we're waiting on 4 more lights that are way up high. They're coming in on June 4th. And we have all the tables assembled, all the chairs assembled, the floor is in. And once we run these last final lights and drop up some final ceiling tiles, the dining room should basically be finished. The craft room was basically done. I've got stuff in there now, which I'm going to be pulling out this week, and we'll just put the final clean on that. Storage room's done. And then we're to the kitchen. And on the kitchen, our electrician is just super busy. That's the bottom line. And trying to get him in there and get stuff done has just been one of the more challenging elements of progress. And so last week, for instance, we had an electrician 1 day. And so it's just a bummer. But you can't bring in, like, it doesn't work that you can kind of fire an electrician and bring in another guy to finish at 90%. No one's going to do that. So we just got to coax them along and finish it up. So we've got major things in the kitchen that have high voltage, right? So the wiring to the freezer cooler, the wiring to this big oven, the wiring to our hood, and the wiring to our dishwasher. And there was one other thing. There's 5 things that have to get wired. Once they're wired, then there's another subcontractor that comes in and does their thing on each one of those. And so that's where we need it. We need electrical in the kitchen is where we are. And then, darndest thing, we have this huge breaker, 480 volt 3-phase breaker. It's expensive and huge. It took so long to get that before it was made, we had like the first part of this electrical panel that was called last year's version. Then by the time we got the breaker, they had made it to this year's version. So it didn't fit in our version. So then we had to go and get a machine and blah, blah, blah. It's really been, Bob knows, like, I give Bob Dr. Bob, the regular and Phil, these like daily occurrences of nonsense, but it's just nonstop. And so here we are, and we got that remanufactured essentially, so it's ready to go in. But the kitchen is, as I look at bringing everything together, it's kind of like you need to have, 7 horses cross the finish line at the same time. Otherwise, it doesn't do any good. And the kitchen's the one where, we need to ramp it up. We need to really start making some progress. But the good news is all the other subcontractors are lined up. They're kind of hassling me because they want to get up there and just finish and get paid. So that's that. Let's see, outside wise, we've got the drive-a guy that he's like a week or 2 to finish. He's looking good. The masons are moving right along, same kind of thing. Could be end of this week, sometime next week we'll be done with that. Once that's done, we bring FE Decor back for final topping, if you will. They put on the perimeter of the metal roof, and they put on the some more downspouts and gutters and what have you. Then once all that's done, then we'll drop the rest of the topsoil, and then after that, the very last thing will be putting the second coat of paving on. So that's kind of where she is. She's coming along, and each day we have good news and bad news. And then we've got, finance-wise, we're getting down to the available funds. Really had 12.5 plus around 300 grand in interest, call it 12.8. And then really, the real number is kind of 13.8, and I'm looking at some deferred compensation that we'll have to work on, and that's kind of how that's, round numbers coming together. So we're just, that's really it. And then at this phase, I'm just really cautious. We hold back retainage on most of our trades, some more than others. And then I just always kind of slow to hand out that retention to make sure we got everything how we want it, all of our warranties and what have you. And so, we'll be working through all those kind of closeout details. But that's where, a couple big things. Last week we had a big inspection by the architect, right? So they came out with 2 technical guys and really went through the building like most of the day. And it's a weird arrangement. I don't have the authority to do anything different than the plans show, right? It's just like it doesn't say if you want to, it's not how it works. And so had there been anything that was not according to plans and specs, they would have wrote it up and we would have had to, I would have had to change it. And thank God we passed that inspection and they were really happy. But I mean, I know that, right? So like, whereas we're doing everything, we're always cognizant of making sure it's exactly as it's supposed to be. But to pass that inspection was great. And then that same day, we had a really big electrical inspection. Same thing, went through the whole building, just checking all sorts of stuff, breaker sizes, wire sizes, connections, blah, blah, blah. We've had multiple electrical inspections, I mean, dozens along the way, but then this big one was kind of, basically our pre-final, which was great. So we passed that as well. And then again, we have inspections all the time, we have, they're out there all the time, but that's where we are. And so as we're coming into our certificate of occupancy, it'll be the fire alarm, making sure all of our exit lights are working, a lot of life safety kind of stuff, making sure we preserved all of our 36-inch travel distances and all that kind of stuff. So we should be in good stead. So I'd love to give a precise delivery date, but all I can say is no one wants to finish this project more than me. And that, I got 2 other things that I've got backing up on, and I've pushed the guys as hard as I can and as fast as I can, but at the same time doing really great work. So.
Okay,
I have a question. Why did we buy all this gym equipment when we've got all of this right here? Some of it is on the stage, still in the boxes.
Yeah, I don't know what's in the boxes, but so keep in mind, you got, basically, when you look at the grant and you go with the norms of what a community center has available to it, and again, I went to probably 20 of them and called, dozens more. There's a typical offering at most community centers, right? It's got this or that, and then with the senior center as well. So now you're mixing kind of 2 things. And then of course the grant had a community hub. So with that, while this equipment's nice and for this kind of setting is it's really just a fraction of what would be normal in this environment if you were to go visit, all these other community centers. But the other thing is creating a cash flow stream, right? And so if you look at the building, you've got 3 cash flow streams. One, of course, is the houses bringing in $100,000 a year, round numbers. The other is the kitchen, which, kitchen et al. So however many meals can be handled, sold, if there's Taco Tuesday or Pizza Friday or whatever. And so that should make $100,000 a year anyhow. It should make more than that with your weddings, sales events, anything you can, all things utilized in the kitchen, the dining, and that offering is its own cash flow stream. Then you've got collectively the exercise aspect of it, right? So the gym, the game room, the locker rooms, and the fitness area, and the yoga room. That should have no problem making $100,000 a year. But in order to get people interested in that and to get them to sign up and not just the narrow, I try to remove my personal desires from anything. I just, take an agnostic view of how should this money be deployed, and then what is the best way to generate these cash flow streams. And so what it is, some of this equipment is just not really commercial grade, and it's just not in keeping with what we're creating over there, and so it's just it's the old thing. I mean, there's a mom and pop hotel in Alpena that has beds and kitchens and people can spend the night. And then there's a brand new Hyatt. It's got all the brand new stuff you'd expect to see, and you wouldn't go to the brand new Hyatt and expect to see this equipment. It just doesn't jive, it just wouldn't be a wise thing to do. And so that's why. I know, Dolores, I love you, but I understand you you see, I know where your mind is, right? Your mind is aligned with my mom, right? She'd be like, what are you doing that for? You know, it's like, I 100% get it. But, you know, I just know, you know, when you do these projects, whatever it is, you know, whether it's a hotel, office building, shopping center, you name it, consistency through to the end is really critical. So like, you know, even whether it's landscaping, you can't have like a grade A X and then a grade F something else, you know, all within the same project. You just don't do it. And so that's.
Well, I'm all about saving a dollar if you can.
And that's a good thing, but at the same time, there's the other side of that coin, right? I'm all about spending the dollar wisely to make more dollars, right? And so what I see is this center, you know, this center should be capable, like it should be a private guy like me could go put in cash, borrow the money, run this thing and make money, right? And, you know, and so when you get free money, mostly, you know, it's like this, now it's just like, hey, the more money this thing can generate, the more action. And of course, the money is in connection with utilization, right? So, you know, my goal, and I know everyone else's, is just see people using it, right? To see, and so much of that is it's wise marketing. It's doing everything, keeping it clean, having it be a great experience, having, you know, all the right offerings. And that's what we need. You know, we just need people to come in and go, this place is great. I'm going to come here to eat. I'm going to come here to play, you know, this. I'm going to come here to exercise. I'm going to come here to recreate. I'm coming out here just to hang out because I enjoy the vibe. And that's what, you know, and I can tell you, like, when I do a subdivision, for instance, you know, that's something I'm always cognizant of. It's just really creating an inviting situation to get people in there. And then hopefully there's nothing greater than going back years later and just seeing all these people happy and really grooving on the place. So.
Well, I hope you're right that this would happen, but I'm a little bit concerned that we're doing too big, too much for this community. Because I personally don't think they're going to come from Alpena down to use our gym equipment, or even come up from Oscoda to use our gym equipment.
Well, you know,
they might. I hope I'm wrong, but
and a lot of it is, you know, people make trips anyhow, right? Like, you know, like we live in Harrisville, and yet go to Alpena. I marvel. Erica goes to Alpena like 5 times a week. You know, and you know, and I look at the miles and the gas and what have you, but she just does for one reason or the other. And so what you're going to see, you know, I don't know the inverse, how many times people from Alpena have to come down here for whatever reason, but we're going to get not only that traffic, but again, it's like there's 400 Airbnbs in Alcona County, and we need all 400 of them to know about the gym over here. And when their clients come for a weekend or a week, we need them coming to the gym, you know, for 1 or 2 times. That's $20 a crack every time we get, you know, so a 400 are rented, and then you get half of those. But, you know, one of the stats that is interesting is nationwide, 20% of the US population is a member to some kind of workout facility. And so when you just kind of do the quick math on that, if we hold to that same nationwide average, and that's where statistics are really interesting, because when you sample, you know, you can sample 2,000 people to get an indication of the entire country, right? That's really wild. And so when you've got a statistic where you know 20% of 350 million people are doing something, that's like you've got a really precise thing to grab onto. So if you just hold 20% of 10,000 is 1,000, and 1,000 at $15 a month is 15 grand, and 15 grand, you know, times 12 is 180,000 bucks. So it's I see it all the time, right? I say being skeptical and negative is the easiest thing in the world, right? Making stuff happen takes effort and energy and good ideas and what have you. And so sometimes when I get some naysayers, you know, even some of the guys on the job site, I'm like, dude, that's the easiest thing to do. You know, say something's not going to work, and then when it does work, no one comes to you. I'm not going to call you up and say, well, what now, buddy? You know, but it is 100% within our control. And especially, I believe, you know, my personal belief is this is divinely, I believe God has blessed this project. That's how I personally see this thing. And so it's like, it comes with an obligation in a way to bust your butt and fulfill that, you know, it doesn't just automatically come, you know, so, but anyhow, I'm doing stuff like I know there's a, you know, on one hand, I was hired to create it and build it and what have you, but on the other hand, I still, and this is how every project I've ever been in, I make sure it succeeds. You know, I got to stick in the game, you know, like normally we season a product, you know, so if we build a hotel, we'll own it for 3 years, have it be functioning perfectly, and then we sell it. That's just my lifetime MO. And so same kind of deal here is I'm looking at, you know, what do we need to do to make sure this thing thrives? And I'm not just going to get the C of O and walk into the sunset. You know, whether I join the board or whether I have a peripheral position or whatever, however that ends up being, I'm vested into the long-term success of this project, you know, and then getting paid out from my deferred payment at some point. But, you know, so that's that. But again, you know, the power of positive thinking is real. You know, Norman Vincent Peale's book is, to me, very powerful, and that you can take great energy and make something happen, or, you know, lazy energy or just kind of naysayer and have it fail, you know. So right now you know, my job is to make the bones of what we've got, and we've got great bones out there. Now it's just a matter of getting people in and having them be thrilled. And it's the old thing. Look, I have always had to fight with weight. I got a skinny brother, just kills me, right? The guy eats all the time. Like, we go out to dinner, like, he has like 2 huge meals and he's skinny, and I eat like a salad. I'm still always, you know, struggling with weight. And so I have to work. Like, if I don't really put effort in, I could be huge in no time, you know? And the same with everybody. I mean, most people, I mean, you got Phil, who, you know, they've got some slender people, but I can tell you, like, of my friends, we're all like 60-year-old guys with a belly on us, you know, and we like would rather not have the belly on us. And so you know, so I just see that everyone feels better when they're in shape, you know, and that's a thing we can offer. It's really a great thing that we can get people to entice people to get in there, to get off their butt and actually start working out and be healthier, both from the food they eat, from the social element of being there, and the actual working out, put the time in. And I can see it, like, my wife is slender, and her prompting to go getting me to the gym is like beyond that. She's like, you need to come with me. You know, your fat butt needs to get over here and get working out, you know? So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so do you have any more?
Dolores, I have the same concern. Sorry, I just wanted to hook up. That 20% is for a gym that markets full-time and has a huge staff of people attempting to get members. And as we all know, people join and never go, and that's their business model. But
Yeah, I can't hear.
so your point, yeah, about this community, it's going to be a slow start. I hope I have the same vision for the facility as well, and really want to make it good, but we'll have to have longer hours. And I don't know, I didn't look at all that equipment, but I take your point, Dolores, about maybe
Well,
having to utilize it. But
on another point, I get my point on, I come up here and repair that equipment probably twice a week.
Okay.
I mean, nobody else come, you know, when the girls say, I can't use that equipment, it's, yeah, because the treadmill comes off track and I repair that. So, go ahead.
I want to respond to Dolores' comment. I'm relentlessly positive. That's why I joined the board. Every decision that's already been made has already been made. There's new equipment. It's there. It's set up. We make the best of it. I've got a little project going. Anybody that wants to help can help. But I've taken what Wendy and her staff has done. They did a lot of research into what other places in the area charge. I'm trying to expand that a little bit, make it into a spreadsheet so that we can say to people in the community, hey, we didn't just pull $10 a day out of the air. We looked, oh, they get $15 a day in Traverse City. We're not going to get $15 a day. Well, but my brother-in-law's down here. Yes, and they don't have showers, and we do. So I'm trying to, I think what the board already passed in February is good enough. get us by. It's not crazy, but I'm gonna make an effort to get a little more precise so we can feel confident going forward. And, you know, my background is marketing, and that's a huge part of it. That is gonna be a jewel, and we need to make the best of it. And it's not going to sell itself. We're gonna have to make the effort, we're gonna have to invest. Invest doesn't mean money, it means time, it means getting out to people in the community, it means going to meetings, it means working the press, giving interviews, you know, so that's where I look to provide value. You know, I don't have any experience in congregate meals, and I don't have, you know, that's not where I add value. I feel I'm gonna add value by getting my arms around the marketing and community relations part of this to make it successful. And I just started that effort last week. I happened to be downstate. I stopped into Orion Township because they built a new senior center about 5 years ago. And it turns out they're moving already. Shows you what kind of growth is going on in Orion Township. But the executive director said, yeah, let us get moved and then you can come down and interview me. And I can kind of get some feedback on, you know, how does it work and how far away do people come and et cetera, et cetera. So I just think, again, to not be positive is silly. And we don't need to second guess decisions that were made, they're made. But you know, anybody that would want to get involved in that, just let me know. But when I get it done, it'll be shared with everybody.
Thank you.
Yep. And then Andy, I just had one question. I think we owe everyone, we have to have some type of guess for when we're going to be done. I think Wendy's already renting out rooms.
Yeah, we're, so I'm shooting for the 21st, you know, June 21st.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're, you know, if I got 7 horses crossing the line, 6 are crossing before the 21st, right? The final one is the kitchen, which is in a way the most important one. But I did stop in with the health department, and we've had different people through, Corey and the other guy. So we should be looking good. I'm gonna get, you know, but again, I need the electricity and the kitchen. Like, that's the thing I pray for. That's what I need, you know? And when that frickin' breaker came in and it was wrong, it didn't work. It was, you know, I went in the morning where we got the breaker, and then I'm like, in the afternoon, I see it leaving.
I don't question for 1 second that you're not doing everything you can. I just wanted to have some type of guesstimate.
Yeah, we're looking really good. That's what I'm really shooting for. And it's the old thing. If I knew how to wire stuff up at a 3-phase high voltage, I would tell you I'd do it myself, you know, but
With everything that happened in an ice storm, electricians are backed up.
we lost. That ice storm really cost us, you know. But again, my job is to overcome it. That's just one of 100 different problems, you know, thousands of different problems, quite honestly. But electrician at the end of the job is a tricky one, because you cannot get somebody to come in the final leg of a project and take over someone else's work. They're just not going to do it. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
I-
Go ahead.
I know that Wendy is concerned about the lag time of getting the new kitchen approved and closing down. She has gotten information, I think it's from Alex, that said he needs 3 weeks to approve, something like that. Is that what he told you? So I know there's some concern there about, even if it got done on one day, if there's going to be any regulatory hang up. So hopefully we're on top of that.
So knock on wood with Alex. He is so far in all my dealings with him, one, he's been great. He's actually been a really good guy. But he protects himself, and, you know, he'll tell you something's gonna take a month, like plan review. He did it over a weekend, you know? So I suspect that, you know, and I'm just going on what I've seen so far, that he puts out longer dates so that no one's hassling him. But in reality, I think it'll be hopefully close to that. But I guess we'll see for sure. The biggest thing is that a lot of components to the kitchen, the water and the septic, we've already passed all those tests, and those are oftentimes the snags that create a problem. So, but right now it's just simple. We need electricity in there, and then we can fire up these other things. And then, keep in mind, all the things are in the kitchen, right? So everything has been delivered, and all the plumbing works and all the gas works, and it's really just the electrical component of it.
And then the other thing, is any of this equipment going to be used? If not, they can start, if people who are starting to speak that say, I'd like this, they can make arrangements to get it to them, but.
Well, my goal, I felt like we could take it all over there and just see, well, like Phil was in there today, we just literally got the load over the weekend. It was late Friday and Saturday, and we're just unboxing stuff. And so a little bit is just getting a feel for how much room we have. But at the moment, I figured we'd take everything and then just see if we either one, we don't have room, or two, it's not getting used. And then, there's kind of nothing I see that we can't take over there, and we'll see what.
We take this stuff even though we have new stuff?
Well,
I mean, it's not gonna fit.
It probably, some of it won't fit, but like for instance, the balls and we'll see.
We should have a plan.
Yeah, we're right now, we got a layout, maybe it doesn't fit at all, right? Like maybe you're right, we literally, the stuff is in boxes right now and we're getting it situated. Phil was just there. I mean, we're just getting that room situated. So I would say I'd say to the extent possible and to the extent it has a positive contribution to the offering, we'll take it. And then if there's no room or it just doesn't fit, then we'll see. But we're working on that right now. And then I'm curious about what is unboxed back there, or still boxed back there. I'll take a look at it.
I don't think anything's boxed.
I don't think
I think
anything's
there's a
boxed.
couple of full flexes that have never been used. They're just sitting up there. And then I think there's a couple of treadmills that are never been used. They're just sitting up there.
Couple out of order.
There's a couple out of order and a couple that are.
It would be extremely beneficial if you have guys, techs that are installing some of that stuff, if they can swing over here and see how much of this stuff is junk. I mean, computers have gone out on some of these treadmills that they're up on the stage. They might be garbage. So they might be here, but they might be more cost effective to just get rid of them.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll make those decisions. I mean, our goal is clear. We want to have the best offering that we can have, and have. We need people to walk in and go, wow, this place is great, and I either want to eat here, or I want to work out here, or I want to just hang out here. We've had I still get regular stoppings, like every single day, and I almost all of them, most of them, I give it 2 or 2 unless I just can't for whatever reason. But and the regular response is that people are just always amazed, they're whatever their age is, and oftentimes they're kind of elderly. They just like, yeah, it's great, come out, hang out here, and get a coffee, and just enjoy this beautiful building.
Andy, do we not have a layout and a plan for the equipment in the gyms?
There's a layout, but it's what I see is it doesn't account for every element of reality. I mean, it's like I have a layout. Yeah, that's how they position everything, and they're all computer done, and they're done in 3D and blah blah. But then I was laying it out today, and I'm like, some of this is better this way or that way. We'll see. And then 2, it's a funny thing where you don't want to be too close to someone when they're grunting or whatever.
Absolutely.
It's gotta a lot of that just kind of human feel as you're actually laying it all out. But,
Okay. Yeah, that's why I was thinking there probably wouldn't be room for anything additional, but.
yeah, we can. Yeah, we'll see how it feels. We don't want to. I know, like where I go, I was telling Phil today, it's too cramped. Like he's got too much stuff in there. There's not enough room, and there's no point in having something where if it's so cramped you can't even really function with it. So we'll pick just the right spot. We don't want it to be empty. We don't want it to be too full. So we'll get her tuned in just right.
Anything else? We'll move on. Do we have an
Thank
MSCA?
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Andy. Do we have an MSCA representative? No? No? Okay, then we'll move on to Carolyn.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
too. Thanks so much.
I hope that's better.
No, you gotta turn it up or move it up or,
Good morning. If I may, before I begin on my report, I'd like to piggyback just a little bit on Ty's remarks. He couldn't be more right in his reflection that we need to have a positive approach to this. For every one negative statement, and not just about this, but for every one negative statement that someone makes, someone who appears to be in authority, it compounds itself in the community unbelievably. And somehow or other, the positive ones do compound, but not at the rate that the negatives do. So Ty, I believe you are so right that we need to maintain that positive outlook and speaking very positively about it. Yeah, so. I have very little from the county. We're kind of routine. We're in the middle of our audit. Actually, we're almost done, but nothing came of no red flags in the audit. They've gone through it pretty easily. So there's really, I reported earlier that we're in the process of ordering vests for the deputies. Things are just going relatively smoothly. So there's very little to report from that. I do have one thing. As you know, we did the naloxone presentation. And if any of you would like to carry a naloxone in your glove compartment, first of all, we urge that you do that. But second of all, I will make arrangements with Wendy's permission. I will make arrangements to have it available here. And I don't know who you would like to have, perhaps Megan, but so that may I see a show of hands of who would like to have naloxone in their vehicle? Okay, then I will, if Wendy is agreeable to it, I will see that they're available here someplace.
We do have a box.
Pardon me?
We do have a box specifically for Narcan or naloxone.
Okay, well, this would be something they could take and put in their glove compartments of their vehicles. And
Smaller container, or is it different container?
Pardon me?
Is it different offering than what would be in the boxes?
No, it probably is pretty similar, if not exactly the same. It could be. So, but I will see that Wendy gets that within the course of the week. So that's about all I had, unless there's questions.
I bring that up?
Do you want me to address
Yeah,
that?
you want to bring this up?
I can.
Yeah.
And I will accept 99% responsibility on that. I really don't want to go all the way, but I have brought forward today the contract that exists between the county and ACCOA. The presence of that contract is to handle the millage money that is collected,
You don't have one?
reported to the treasurer, and then sent over here. There are some things that need correcting it, but the contract that I would ask that you approve for Phil to sign, the only change from last year is it says 2025 rather than 2024. But I plan on bringing forward to you, and that we will go over in depth, a new contract. Conceptually, it will be the same as what you have, But one of the glaring errors in the current contract, and I don't even know how it got there, and it doesn't matter how it got there, it needs to be corrected. And that is that the county runs on a fiscal year of October to September, which is an error. You do, of course, but the county runs on a calendar year, January, December. So there are a number of things of that nature that I will be addressing when I rewrite the new one. And I will bring a draft to this board, have us review it, and then go back, do whatever corrections you'd like to see made, and then make sure they're agreeable to the Board of Commissioners, and then we would do that as an updated, a little more correct contract.
So is the current contract, did it expire in January?
Yes,
So we don't have a contract right now?
at this time, no. But you went, a while ago, you went for a few years without it, so.
So this, what we would be motioning is for Phil to sign the contract that's exactly the same, except for the date, as the one we signed in 2023 and in 2024, and I have it.
I'm gonna supersede that. I'm gonna make a motion that we have time to review this and that we have to get together as a board, and even if we have a quick meeting, but I understand it's just a nit in that, but I'm not gonna approve signing a contract I've never read or letting Phil sign. I just think we just have to take a little pause. Maybe we, at the end of the meeting, pause for 15 minutes and read it, I don't know. But I'm making a motion that we table this and have a chance, time to review it. So I'm gonna make a motion to table this to another meeting where we can review it and then vote on it at that time. That's my motion.
I'll second that.
I remember when this whole thing about the new center and stuff, and the executive director wanted us to sign something right now. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong, like, we trust our county, but we should take a moment.
The other option, if you wish, is to let me spend the next little bit of time, and it will not be immediate. There are other, this is not the only thing on my plate, as I'm sure you can imagine. But the other thing is, don't do anything with it and let me rewrite it. As I said, that is not going to happen tomorrow, and I'm not even going to guarantee that it would be done by your June meeting. Now, it's not going to affect anything. Either way, it won't affect anything. But that's up to your board.
So we have a motion on the floor to table the signing of this contract today. Seconded by what?
Seconded by Dolores.
Dolores.
And to postpone the signing of this contract until we've had time to read it.
You're,
And we have a motion on the floor.
So I'd like to comment on that. I think Pam's recollection is exactly correct, that we were, and the people who urged some patience and having time to look at things were right in the long run. So I would agree, as long as the county does not have, and our representative for the county has no problem with us continuing as we've been, I don't see any reason that we have to do this today. Now, if she told us differently, then it'd be a different matter, but I don't think she's saying that we don't have to do this today.
I know that it needs to happen. And county isn't even aware that it needs to happen. If you were to ask them specifically, they would say, oh yeah, we've got a contract with them. But it is not, I don't even think it's on their list of things to do, let alone being at the top of the list.
Okay.
So, but I would lean towards, if you're going to spend time on it, because I know of all the things in there that need to be changed. And I would I guess I don't want to see you spend your time on this document when I know there are issues with it. I'd rather see you wait till I get the other one done and spend your time on that.
But we don't have a time, when that's gonna be done. So it's, the issue is, the motion is, look at this, feel comfortable with this, sign this, and hopefully your document will come in another month. But then we
I'm not even
resolve
promising
having-
July, Ty.
So,
Pardon?
I said, I'm not even promising July. In my mind, the end of the summer.
That's all, but again, the motion on the table is to set this aside, review it, and make a decision. I think that's what we want to do, even more so if we don't know when the new one is going to come. And it's not a waste of time. If we,
Okay.
cross out, if we just do 2025 and send it back and the county signs it, we've done our job for now. And we all work on a better one for next year.
The motion on the floor is to table this contract
You
and,
just-
until
up
we
to
review it.
your
and
board.
then- And so we have a motion by Ty, seconded by Dolores. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Maybe we can add to new business, how we're gonna get together and do that.
Mm-hmm. You got anything else, Karen?
No, thank you.
So we'll move on to Executive Director's Report. Wendy?
I don't have a lot. The Meals on Wheels program, we served a total of 3,040 meals for the month of March. What was that? With 358 of the meals being congregate. And then we were gonna have Pace come to our all-staff meeting, and he had to cancel out on us. He was gonna come be a guest speaker, the executive director for Pace. He did have a mandatory meeting that he had to go through for NETSCA. So we are gonna try to reschedule with him, and then we'll invite, I don't know, it could be a public thing, it could be just the staff and the board, but as soon as he gets back to me with some dates and times, I'll let everybody know. And then over the last couple of weeks, Patty and I met with Huron Community Bank and then the AAA Credit Union to decide, once we are complete with that center, what we wanted to do instead of having two banks, just the one bank. We feel that there's a lot more options with the credit union. They do not have fees. I mean, you can only transfer money X amount of times at Huron Bank a month. They charge you, they have a fee for everything basically at Huron Bank. And we also have the option for the money market at the credit union. So we feel that it would be best to just move all of our funds to the credit union once the building project is complete.
I thought we already talked about that.
I mean, I know it was kind of up in the air which one we were gonna go to. I don't think we ever really made a final decision.
Is it the credit union, the Alpena
Area, yeah.
blah, blah, blah? That's where the Alcona County Recycling has their money. And I'm the treasurer, and I know I can move money back and forth with the money market with no fees. So we just keep, a couple grand in the checking account so that it can be in the money market. We can move it back and forth on bills, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Did you have anything, Vicki?
I didn't have anything, outside of what we discussed. We wanted somebody to be here that if the board had any questions for us. I know one of the questions was the share insurance. And we did find out, share insurance, you're insured up to $250,000 per tax ID number. So you talked about having a few different funds. If they had separate tax ID numbers, each account would be insured at 250,000.
Otherwise, it's all one,
Right.
and they only insure for that, so the rest of the money is just,
Even if you had 3 accounts with us, but they all had the same tax ID number, insurance is maxed out at 250,000.
Yeah.
But that's not just us isolated.
Right.
That's gonna be most of the financial institutions.
I think the finance committee was kind of, with Wendy and Patty's input, we're gonna wait till all the money, the project money kind of got finished, and that account got finished before they decided to open up a new account for the new center. And so it's not just the existing accounts that you're talking about, but there's gonna be kind of a whole new, maybe a separate account,
Right.
actually.
We had talked about doing like, ACCOA account, which would be our, donation millage fund. Then, an account for the, whatever, the Sunrise site, whatever that may be. And then a separate account also for just the bungalows. So,
Where is our Edward Jones money? We pulled that out, right? So where did we put it?
New York Life. So, and in general, New York Life invested in a slightly more risky thing than a money market. And then when money needs to get moved from savings or from any account from New York Life, it gets moved into the proper account. But the only money we have in New York Life right now is savings. I will give AA Credit Union one thing. They've really been quite a pain to deal with, but in a good way. Because when anything needs to be done, they have to have it as a board action or an executive committee. And then if it's not exactly right, so it means they're watching. They're paying attention. So it's a pain. Hopefully we're getting through that and they've gotten everything they need. But I mean, in a good way, they've been a pain.
Yeah, but they do it for the executive office. They do it for their upper branch. I mean, and then they bring it back to us and we send it back.
Correct.
So, yeah.
It wasn't quite what they
I'm happy
wanted,
that-
but it means they're watching. They're
I'm
making
happy
sure
about that.
everything is in order.
Do we need a motion to go directly with the credit union?
think
Or is that up to Patty and
All we have
Wendy?
to do is,
I think it's up to them.
I do think,
And I specifically asked Patty, what's easiest for you? And I think this is what she felt like was the easiest.
okay. Any other questions for the credit union or for Wendy? You done, Wendy?
I
Good.
totally support the credit union.
Me too. Second. Third, fourth, fifth, okay.
It might behoove us though to think about with the money, in order to have another tax ID number for the money that comes in from the rentals versus all together, because then you have more insured money. Because if something crashes, you only get insured up to the 250, and we have more money coming in and out than that. So
That
it
was
might
one of the
behoove us to
issues
do
that led to us moving from a previous investment company to New York Life, because we felt that was exactly the case, that money was at risk.
But our month-to-month money will be different also. So, like when we do the name change, you could actually put a tax ID number to that entity and still have your ACCL tax ID number. And that way you're separating the funds, so more money is insured, would be my opinion.
We could take Vicky's recommend, 3 tax ID numbers or 4 or whatever we need to fill out, to make sure that we're secure. Something shouldn't go down.
But then you get into more like bookkeeping things, but yeah,
Right.
we definitely wanna
We,
secure the
we
money.
do have a lot of like the townships, I guess is kind of what I would go with. They have several different accounts. They have a general fund and they have a tax account. So they do have several different types of accounts with us, so they can keep each funding separate. So I know when they discussed, like, you guys have the fitness room, and then you have the kitchen and dining. I don't know if you plan on keeping those separate, so you can monitor how much those items are making. You could look at separate accounts for those.
Right.
But separate accounts is different than separate tax IDs. Yes, yeah. I would certainly see us having different accounts for that to manage, so.
But you're saying
Okay.
identify with a tax ID number with those?
Well,
Assigning. I should
Yes,
say.
whatever you guys choose on that part, but yes, if you have separate tax
So of
ID
course
numbers.
those
But those
would
are
be separate.
separate tax, those are different businesses. And all the, do we have the overhead to managing three businesses?
We're all doing it at the same time.
I think it's a question for Patty and Wendy.
Right, that's why I
because
looked at her.
Managing the accounts is different than managing the tax IDs. And unless we have $251,000 in cash, it's a moot point anyway. So do you want to manage three? Do you think it's worth your time and effort? Or do we have, once the building's done, or are we gonna have that much cash in an account that's even at risk?
I think it's a
I would think so.
I would think so too,
Split it up.
because of what
Yeah,
numbers that he was
Right,
throwing at us.
right. I would think,
Yeah,
Even if, in the best case scenario, something brings in $100,000 a year, money also goes out. And it doesn't just accumulate and grow, and in 10 years you have $1 million. I think I'd like to give you, my opinion is to give you and Patty the advice is, if you want to manage three accounts, and it doesn't cost us any more to have three tax IDs, and that's going to protect us, then it makes sense. But it doesn't make sense to do 10 just because that's 10 times the work. So I think
Would
I
that
would,
be three separate audits, or would it be all
No,
one audit?
One audit.
One audit, okay.
for
So
three
it's
tax,
all one. It just has, it's a technicality to have the tax ID number.
Right.
That's all it is. It's still doing business as it would have to be done anyways, according to having everything in its spot. But technically, it would have different tax ID numbers, just in case you do go over it. Even if you didn't, it wouldn't hurt to have the tax ID number. It doesn't cost anything to have a tax ID number.
the only hurt was if it's an unreasonable burden on you guys. If it's not,
that's what
then
It really shouldn't be because it all goes in under their, what do you call those accounts?
General ledger.
No, P, starts with a P maybe? The things that you supply Stevenson with, your breakdowns. I'm like,
So maybe that's just something she'd be willing to come to the next finance committee meeting, or we can just hash out some of the details.
Yeah,
I think
because
so.
I think maybe people are being over concerned, because I've been in corporate where we have lots of money, in banks, but one tax ID. You have a tax ID, that's a separate entity, period. So I don't know if Wendy wants to establish this as a multi-corporate entity where you've got all these different businesses and.
that's not what it is.
no, so,
For instance, I'm gonna use myself. I have over $250,000. Just saying, not necessarily, but I'm gonna use myself as an example. And I have it in a savings, and I have it in a money market, and I have it in a checking, all under one thing. But it only goes to 250, and if I got more money in any of those accounts, to add up to the 250, I don't have to be a corporation for that, I could be an individual for that.
But
So
you
it's
don't
not
have three
creating
tax
a corporate.
IDs.
Are you sure I don't?
Okay, well, okay.
so I think right now, I would leave it up to Patty and Wendy, and with with Vicky and them to work out, okay, you have $400,000, you need 2 tax ID numbers to make sure that we're covering the 250 and the 250,000. If you have $210,000, okay, you only need 1 tax ID number, and that would be between the executive director of finance and the credit union to lead us in the right direction. I think by going to one institution like we are, I think we can handle that. Okay.
My opinion is the odds are, unless they can give us a competitive rate of return at New York Life, we're never going to keep a huge amount with them. So it might be a moot point. But I mean, I think it's a good discussion that we should have. It just clarification, Wendy is not the chief financial officer. That position has been removed. She's the executive director. So most financial oversight is taken by the board as opposed to day-to-day, which is obviously in their control.
Okay. When you don't have anything else, we'll move on to treasurer's report.
The balance sheet as of 5.
Thank you,
Thank
Vicky.
you, Vicky. You're welcome.
Thank you, Vicky.
Assets, working funds, $59,051.72. Savings, $590,433.91. New building project funds, $311,511.87. Received in full, $12.5 million as of 7/24/24. Total amount spent as of 5/23/2025. $12,714,684.76.
Okay.
So, for instance, right here, it shows in our checking, we have 311,000. We're only covered up to 250. That's not even including the rentals that are gonna be coming in.
Yeah, and I think there's always a delay from what the actual figures are to what's in that account, because we've never really had over more, but if a check doesn't come in, Patty's figures are sometimes not, like for right now, checking, we have almost no money yet. So by the time she gives this to me, 5/23, it's already kind of out of date. But no, I think you're exactly right. AAA Credit Union has never had more than really 250,000 at a time.
Fine line.
Correct.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
It's basically, it's been worked. Once that gets down to zero, then money gets transferred in from New York Life. But she might show a balance of 311 because somebody hasn't cashed their check. You know, there might have been $100,000 check written to somebody, but they haven't cashed it. So she takes this number saying we have 311,000, where we do, but we don't. That makes
But
sense.
you're gonna
That's how
be
I
more
understand it.
into Is what I'm saying. There's going to be more coming in.
There will not be any more now. There really never has been more
So
than,
this shows all the bungalow money already? There's rent
no,
money paid in
none
here?
of this shows that really.
That's what I'm saying.
Correct.
So you are going to potentially, whatever day it may happen, if it ever does happen, something crashes, you're gonna be over.
The New York Life is where we have that protected.
I got it, Bob.
But no, but I think I see exactly what you're saying. You know, it's something we'll need to make sure when the accounts get opened, however they are, that we take that into account. And we did all along.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll need a motion to accept the treasurer's
I
report.
have a question
Subject to,
first.
To go ahead.
Are we over budget on our new building? According to this, we are.
Oh, this is with interest that we've made on the money. Still money being interest paid.
Total amount spent is
We invested some of that money.
Well, what I'm asking then, are we over budget on the new building?
I would say probably down the road we might be.
Are we now, as of now?
As of right now, I'm
I
gonna say,
understand these speak that the, total would be 13 something.
Yeah.
13.8, and we had budgeted 12.8.
the bills haven't all come in yet.
We're $1 million over budget.
I'm saying.
So yes or no? Are we
I'm
over
gonna
budget?
say, I'm gonna say we will be.
Yes, we are.
I'm
We
gonna say
are
we will
over
be.
budget.
I'm gonna say yes, we will be, yeah, as soon as all the bills come in.
So who's gonna pay? Where's that money gonna come from?
I've got the same question, but that doesn't change the treasurer's report.
Right.
This is just a report. We got a motion to approve the report. I
Oh.
think we approved the report, but while we're on the topic of the treasurer, we need an answer and a plan to the Dolores' question. But that's got nothing to do with.
Do with the report of the treasurer's
If
report.
we don't approve this report, it doesn't change it.
So I can ask the question after we report?
Yeah,
Okay,
we just,
okay,
we should.
okay.
So we need a motion to accept the treasurer's report subject to audit.
I will make the motion to accept the treasurer report due to audit, subject to audit.
I'll second it.
Motion by Pam, seconded by Ty to accept the treasurer's report as presented, subject to audit. Roll call, please.
Turek, yes. Potter,
Yes.
McKinnon,
Yes,
Schlicker,
Yes,
David,
Yes.
Sedney,
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes,
Okay, motion carried. Secretary's report.
well, now I'm gonna ask my question.
Let's make that in the new building project committee, because I know you wanted to talk about the bungalows being rented. So maybe let's, before the finance committee, maybe we can talk about,
Okay, you tell
Business
me
room.
when.
how about right now?
All right, sounds good. I'm gonna ask again, are we over budget on our new building? I'm not kidding, there's word out there that we are way over budget, and I didn't know we was.
When all the bills come in, I'm gonna say yes.
Are we over budget as of today, before these bills even come in?
I do not believe we are.
I should have asked Andy. I don't know.
I think the way I would put it is Andy is committed to making the project, completing the project with the funds he's been provided.
So is he gonna pick up the tab for, for whatever
I
we
think this
need?
is something we should discuss when we figure out if we are and what we are. I mean, we could come up with 100 different scenarios of what could be and how we would do it, but we don't know what we're looking at yet. We don't even know how the exercise equipment's gonna be put in a room, and that took 50 minutes to talk about. So, I don't know. The possibility of us being over is definitely highly possible, yes.
I did hear him say that, deferred payment. So that was something we have to look at too, but that's all in the board. That's gonna be a, Ty?
I think whether we've got money to finish the project or not, shouldn't be left up to Andy's charity. I think we need to stop today, take a breather, very specifically ask Andy, how much money have we spent? How much money is left to spend? What are expenses we paid to date? What are expenses we haven't incurred? and to come up with a plan. To think it's not over budget, it probably is. I've never done a project for work. I've built a house, things happen. But we can't get to the end and run out of money. That's irresponsible. It might already be too late to make any changes that could be made. But I think if we've got June 21st, I mean, that's not even a month from now. So a month from now, we're gonna have a certificate of occupancy and be moved in. And everything's gonna be done and all the bills, I mean, it's time just to say, Andy, we need you to make a presentation, whether it's to the finance committee or the whole board. It's not smoke, mirrors, it's reality. What have we spent? What do we still have to do? How much do we have left? And have a plan. Because it might be a little bit of money and we figure it out, or it might be a lot of money and we have a problem. But right now, I'm not comfortable not knowing that answer. And so we're just having a discussion right now. Maybe it's something to put in new business, but if we get to new business, I'm gonna make a motion that we have come to a resolution on this topic, to at least have a reckoning. And it's not implying anybody's done anything wrong. Miracles might have been pulled over there. I'm sure they were. But, I mean, we can't sit here and say we have no idea what our run rate is for the money we have left. That's all.
I clearly heard from Andy's update that we are over budget. He clearly stated that.
That's what I heard.
Being a new board member, I assumed I was just out of the loop and catching up. So to hear that question tells me that we've not been doing getting any kind of status report on what's been spent, how much we have left, where we're gonna have issues, and to look at the run rate. Normal reporting for project updates, but, so yeah, I agree, Ty, that we should look at that and have that as part of the updates going forward, definitely. And I don't know what agreement on this deferred compensation, I'm gonna cover that later.
Go ahead, Bob.
Those are the first times I ever heard those words. And everybody's point is real good. I think this is something for either the new building project committee or the marketing and operations committee to take care of. The finance committee has not had anything to do with this. I don't think this is a finance committee type of issue. Now, if that's the only committee meeting, that's fine, but this is not. This is something that if you guys want to say the finance committee should take a look at this, it's fine, but it really sounds like me and more like a new building project committee or a marketing and operations committee type of thing to get down to this. So, what's going on, a lot of his terminology, is his compensation going to go, has he already spent his compensation and it's going into the building?
Well, let's discuss that in new business. I think everybody agrees we gotta do something. Let's figure out exactly what later. Get through the other reports.
Okay. Secretary's report?
Well, by the way, that I thought Phil might want to say all the bungalows have been rented.
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, all 8 are rented right now.
Wow.
Yep.
I mean, I look at it as once Andy gave the go-ahead that it was safe to go back in there, basically they got rented in 2 to 3 months. I mean, I've not experienced with real estate. That seems super quick to me. I mean, I don't know if anybody has complaints about that, but
What Sarah Jane told me was it was hard for her to find any clients when they would say, well, we'd like to rent, when can we move in? And she didn't have a date because still under construction, we didn't want them going back there. So then, of course, somebody's looking to move, they're gonna move. So then she lost that client, and so she would try to pin in, and he'd say, I can't go in there because the water test wasn't done, this wasn't done, we have to go back in and claim. So we never had a definite date to tell the people. But then once we got the definite date, May 1st, 5 was rented like within, I'm gonna say 72 hours. I mean, it was like, but then the other 3 took a couple of days and then a week. So yeah, all 8 are rented. I think once we got the move-in date is why they took off.
And although there was a lot of negativity on,
Right.
on Facebook about the price and everything, it's really, there's a lot of seniors in this community that have funds, and it was never meant to be a low income. Affordable housing is a term that's very, very overused. I mean, they throw it around like people making $500 a month can do it, and that's not, it's misleading. And we have a certain group of people, even in Alpena, that are really pushing it, and that's their go-to word, affordable housing. So,
Again, relentless positivity, they're all rented.
yes,
Correct.
Doesn't matter how long it took to rent them, they're all rented.
They're all rented.
That's awesome.
it's very,
I told Sarah that. I give her kudos. I said, very, very nice. That everything's
I had
rented.
taken some newsletters back there with people that had moved in. And I talked to a gentleman that moved in on a Saturday in the rain. But he had to move out where he was in there. He didn't have any choice.
That's what I mean. So, yeah, they're all rented. Very,
Awesome.
yep. Committee reports?
I gave you a summary of a finance committee report, the things we were talking about. The summary, Wendy didn't mention, but they didn't get some funding, right, from sources that, so they hadn't run out of millage funds yet, but once you considered there was a pending insurance bill for the bungalows that came in, that the rent that had come in from the bungalows thus far wouldn't cover that. The committee recommended moving $10,000 from the savings, the non-millage account, into the general fund to pay that bill. Hopefully it doesn't have to happen, but I don't think anybody would be surprised if until money starts coming in from that side of the project, some holes might need to be plugged with savings, non-millage funds. So this was just, they didn't run out of money. They don't get their millage check probably for a couple weeks, but I think they did a great job of making things work this year. But that was one thing that was recommended. We met with Quentin Meek of Assured Partners just to make sure that we were paying as little in insurance as possible. Ty is going to do more research to make sure that the fee schedule for the new facility is such that expenses are going to be met. And the last thing, the committee members, we voted in favor of making a recommendation to the full board to pay Brad Cole $1,500 for the time we have occupied the Lincoln Senior Center, January through June, based upon the figures provided by our New York Life agent. And that's the next page I gave you. What he said is that if you figured out what somebody could put their money risk-free in a money market for 6 months, and what we got from Brad Cole, that's what he came up with would be a suitable reimbursement to him for Brad not being able to use that money or being able to use the building for 6 months. So the committee members voted to make that recommendation to the full board to pay Brad Cole for basically the loss of we made money off of his money.
Mm-hmm.
We had it invested as opposed to him being able to invest it. Does that make sense?
Bob, are you presenting this and then we accept it as the board, is that it? The committee
I would be
report?
willing to make the
No, I'm
recommendation.
saying the whole report. I just wanted to add something to it.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Just add a bullet that we discussed ownership of the generator and whether it can stay with the old building, move to the new building, payment. There's lots of detail in that. Those detail doesn't need to be in the minutes, but that was just a topic that's still being investigated. So it's just, there was discussion on ownership, reuse, and disposal of the old generator. That was just something that we talked about in the meeting.
Yeah, we gotta get that done.
That's all. We just got.
And let's put it in, let's talk about it even more in unfinished
Right,
business,
right.
because
I'm
it's
just
still
saying.
ongoing.
Right, I'm saying it's ongoing, but just included in the
Correct.
minutes.
We discussed that at the finance meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I didn't even put that in
So
there.
are we gonna bring that up
Old
later?
business.
The generator issue?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but the one thing we did for sure is, so make a recommendation to the board to give Brad Cole
I
$1,500.
second.
So I'll make that recommendation, that we follow the finance committee's recommendation to reimburse Brad Cole $1,500 for the time we've occupied the Lincoln Senior Center, January through June.
I second Bob's motion.
Okay. Motion by Dr. Turd, seconded by Tide, to move $1,500 back to Brad Cole for the time we occupied the Lincoln Senior Center, January through June. Is that right? Is that your motion? Yeah, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Well, wait, that should be a roll
Well,
call.
that would be a roll call.
Okay.
Don't even know.
Lynch,
Yes,
Chesney,
Yes.
Damon,
Yes.
McKinnon,
Yes.
Potter,
Yes,
Schlicker,
Yes.
Turek, yes. And I think I kind of got a,
Would I have Daddy request a check for that?
gonna have to, because his money went into the general fund, so it's got to come out of that general fund. I kind of got off, I did have some secretary's report before I went to that. We did a little preemptive research, and the next letter behind Kevin Friddle is a letter from the lawyer, just saying that there is basically, Lori has a position with the farmers market that Wendy has contracted with to do the farmers market using the ACCOA facilities. That never came before the board, so the board never voted on that. So if it ever came before the board, then Lori should not vote or be part of the discussion. But it's not a conflict of interest. It's just if it came up in future, she should recuse herself from that discussion. That makes sense?
mhm.
So it's a non-issue, the way I took it.
I have a couple of comments I wanted to clarify based on reading this, that there might be some confusion as to my role and the role of the Northeast Michigan Healthy Food Initiative in working with ACCOA on getting their farmers market up and running, so we step out next year. So it was a transition year this year, just to help the ACCOA get a farmers market expanded and up and running. And in that, at the Northeast Michigan Healthy Food, I'm working with Harrisville Farmers Market as well, guiding, offering advice, and helping in any way that I can to help their farmers market come up to speed, which is what the role would be for this organization as well. But the farmers market is ACCOA. And, because I just saw a comment here about influencing to increase money coming in, that money would be ACCOA. There's no other entity running a farmer's market. ACCOA is running a farmer's market, and I would just be there to help in any way I can. So That's the actual.
Yeah, see, that's news to me. I didn't know it was ACCOA's farm market. I thought ACCOA had offered the lot to somebody else doing a farmer's market.
Yeah. Your understanding?
My understanding too, Christine Ranger came and said it was at the fairgrounds, then it was there, they needed a place to do it this year, we would be able to get the, whatever we charge for the vendor. But, yeah, I guess I didn't know that.
Okay. Yeah, and I had just actually called her before this meeting just to confirm, because I've gone over this with her a couple of times. Because, I actually started this arrangement with her prior to even knowing about this board opening. We just didn't get paperwork signed, because we kept going back and forth to get executed copy paste errors. So it's more of a guidance and help that I'm fully paid by her, and working with farmers markets in the areas just to get some more farmer market fresh produce available to this area. And I had asked her to come here today, but she had a conflict just in case to answer any questions. But I didn't realize, I thought I was the only one confused a bit.
No,
At first.
definitely not.
So that's why I asked again. I'm like, and she goes, no, it's their market, we're just in transition. That's where it would be the understanding that the ACCOA would continue doing it on their own after this year. Is our understanding.
So would that mean they would expect us to pay the coordinator or whatever?
Or have somebody here from it, yeah.
I know
So-
Megan's been doing a lot, so.
Right, and I offered to kind of help her with some paperwork or do some things. And in the meantime, I've been working with Airtel to get their resident, they need a ton of help. But again, it's the city who's doing it, and they get up and get it formalized. And the person who runs the market is actually the market master, so to speak, and then we're calling this a coordinator because I'm just kind of working with a bunch of
Okay.
farmers markets.
Pam, you had a question?
Well, we were involved in the food bank, and we were actually paying somebody to run the food bank, and we had to dissolve that, so I'm just making sure that it's not the same thing.
I don't know
This is
anything
the
about
same
this.
thing? You remember the food bank?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
correct.
So we were paying an employee, because in the future, we would have to pay somebody to do that, right? Is it not the same thing?
I would think in general, and I couldn't hear all the conversation because she was termed, but non-millage fund, or millage funds cannot be used for non-senior services, period.
Just so we don't cross that line
Right.
in the future.
So we could have a volunteer maybe, if we decide to continue next year.
We'll have to talk about, yeah, we can work to try to figure out how it might work.
Now, we have savings that can be used for anything. We have non-millage funds that can be used for whatever we decide, but millage funds cannot be used for non-senior activity.
Didn't we in the past, when they had their farmer's market at the ARA and then they had it downtown and then they just used our parking lot? The farmer's market was different than us, but yet I could go over there and buy something if I want. But we didn't collect any money from that farmer's market. They just used our
I think that's all-
driveway.
I think that's all Steve Wright's doing, isn't it? Or Chris, right? Isn't that all they're doing, is setting up a produce area?
I know what they did last year. What the intention was this year, as I was told, is that they wanted to expand, somebody wanted to expand it and include more farmers and do that and bring it to the site here at ACCOA. So as I talked to her more, she kept indicating that it was meant to be a transition, transitioning the farmers market management and control over to ACCOA so that we would have our own, and run the farmer's market. There's no third-party entity running this farmer's market.
I guess I don't understand.
I don't either.
What's the issue, or if it's just letting people use our parking lot. Well, right now they use the parking lot in City of Harrisville, and they probably have some liability agreement and yada, yada. Yeah, great, use our parking lot. Don't leave it a mess. But to be that it's ours and we run it, that's a whole other thing that it's a waste of our time to even discuss today.
My impression when she came in and sat down and talked with Megan and Jay and I was, we would be able to bring the farmer's market to our location. We would be able to rent the space, like they come in, it might be $50 to rent their space. They're paying us to rent that space. And then we did it from 3:30 to 5. It would bring in people for congregate dinner or whatever, and that was kind of that. Whoever showed up that week showed up, or whatever, but apparently that's not.
I think that's great in theory, but then we have to manage it, we have to collect the money. I think somebody needs to work this through a little bit more, bring us a written proposal. I'm handing this to you, you charge, you go, you do what you want. It's one decision versus, hey, we have this thing, it needs to be somewhere. Wouldn't it be great to have it at the senior center? Yes, of course it would. What do we have to do? Nothing. Great, but we don't know what decision we're making right now. But, owning it, charging for it, being in the middle of that's just a whole other kettle of fish. Like, if we don't have all the details, there's nothing we can discuss. That's all.
It may be a moot point because I think, that truck that James Rose City Greenhouse is the only people who are going to be coming at the moment anyway, so, it would be just taking a focus on that, instead at the site instead of over on another property.
Okay.
But, yeah, I think, we need a sort of a farmer's market plan if we want to have a farmer's market and do that. Which might fall into the.
I mean, no, it definitely should go on the list of ways.
I don't have a problem one way or another. It just seems like to me it was presented that they were just using our parking lot. So that's how it kind of got presented to me. I have no problem one way or another, as long as Wendy knows that non-millage or millage funds can't be used for non-senior services. I mean, however that is.
Whatever it is.
And that might not be an issue at all.
Right.
But what you just said is totally different than what Wendy said. So the point is, we don't know what we're being asked.
Correct.
So let's
Yeah,
get more
this is
information
completely
to move
different.
on. We don't, because Wendy said they want to give us the whole concept and we could charge people booth space. And you're saying they just want space.
No,
No, that's how it was presented.
Yeah, what Lori's saying is like, they want us to take over everything. I thought they were just, a vendor was gonna come in, say, Carolyn wanted to sell cucumbers today, she'd come in and say, can I rent a spot for $25 to sell my cucumbers? Okay, next week, maybe she's not coming in.
What I meant to say, in case I was unclear, is that when Wendy mentioned in one of her reports in the pack that the farmer's market was going to use our lot, that was the only thing we as a board heard. And it didn't come to a board vote. There was no discussion. It was just the executive director is doing something that they always do. They do ways to try to serve people or be involved with the community. It never came up that there might be funds, ACCOA funds used to do this. If that's the case, then Wendy knows that as long as it doesn't use millage funds, I as a board member, I don't get involved in everything they do here.
No.
I agree.
Okay, move on.
The only, the other thing I had is, you all know I've been trying to get the minutes in order, that are past minutes and current minutes, and getting them on the website appropriately. Well, one of our minutes were not on the website, and they didn't exist. And what had happened is that the previous secretary, a special meeting had taken place back in January of 2023, that those minutes were never written up and presented to us to approve. So I talked to the lawyer. Actually, I had Wendy talk to the lawyer, and he said in his correspondence that if a recording exists and can be located, watching the recording and generating minutes from that would be fine for approval at the next meeting. That's what I did. So I watched the video, I put down the minutes, and we need to decide if we're going to approve them. So having said that, I did not take minutes during that meeting. They're completely from the recording, which is essentially what I do now. But the difference is only 3 members on this board were at that meeting at that time. Whether they have recollection of it or not, I doubt it. So basically, you're taking my word, unless you watch the video and make your own minutes, you're taking the word that I watched the video and here are the minutes.
Could I have a couple of 3 days to see if I've got them? I very well might have them. Because
If
I've
you
saved-
have them, they were never approved. They were never presented to the board to approve.
And I'm not saying I do have them, but I might, because I keep all that stuff.
I don't think there's any delay. It's been 2.5 years, 3 years. So, I mean, what's another month?
So
But
we're looking for January the 19th of 2023.
that was the special board meeting.
All right, I'll
Was
see.
that not the meeting that the secretary got up and walked out
No,
on?
that was the meeting before that. It was the
Oh.
special meeting that was called.
Okay,
It didn't come in front of us to approve those meetings. They were never written up, I assume. In any case, we approved the meetings from the December special board meeting and the regular board meeting in November. That's what we approved. So we approved 2 sets of minutes. We should have been presented with 3. We weren't. So, like I said, it's been three years now. So I don't see any problem delaying, but I know the board never voted to approve, never had these presented, and were never voted to approve these minutes or minutes of this meeting. Didn't happen.
Okay, I'll check. I'll call you if I can find them.
Yeah, it's already overdue. I mean, but in any case, if Dolores can't find them, if somebody doesn't want to go by my minutes, you're going to have to watch the video on your own, make your own minutes, and then compare them to mine and see if you disagree with my minutes. That's the only way to do it. Which is really not a whole lot different than what we do right now. I mean, I present the minutes. Unless you all have photographic memory, you're assuming that I have put everything in properly. So then the last thing I have as a secretary is, for the first time ever in the 2.5 years I've been secretary, I actually got correspondence. So the correspondence I got was somebody, it's called the Sprinkler Lake Camp and Friends Organization, and they're proposing to revitalize the Sprinkler Lake and Camp area, and we would like to ask for your support in the endeavor. They're not asking for money. They're going around to the local groups, any group, and it's kind of like the broadband initiative where they were seeking letters of support from everybody. The more letters of support they get, then they turn into the Forest Service, and the Forest Service says, yeah, this is a good thing. So they asked me to read the whole letter, but basically they have a whole 13-page plan of what they want to do, and this stage, and this stage. What they're offering, what they're asking for us is give them support.
If I may speak to it, Mr. President. Yesterday, I did a letter of support and sent it to them. There are 2 schools of thought on this. There is what the Sprinkler Lake, Chris Angel and his group are promoting, is that some of you may remember at one time, it was a place for the schools to go to take kids, to learn about nature, to have presentations, have work sessions, the whole 9 yards. That's what he wants to do. And I think it's, from my perspective, it's the right thing to have happen. The U.S. Forest Service wants to make it a campground. So it'd be, the educational opportunities and so on just would not quite be there. Chris and his team have a pretty good, do they have all the answers? Of course not, but they've got some good plans. The second thing that, although, yes, he does express it in one of the emails that I got, he also is inviting and asking people to please come to that meeting tomorrow at noon at Sprinkler Lake and show your support. Either way, I mean, if you really think the Forest Service should take it over and run it as a campground, you certainly are welcome to your thought process on that. Or if you think that it should be redeveloped into an opportunity for the schools to go there, they even are running competition because they're saying, although it's a very small area, relatively small area, they're even saying they could do small weddings there. So, but they're talking about having conferences there, just a whole bevy of really neat things like it used to be years ago. And I've got to be in Alpena tomorrow morning for another meeting, but if I can make it, I'm going to give it a try. The meeting's from 12 to 2 at Sprinkler Lake. But in the meantime, if you wanted to, you could make a motion to support the Sprinkler Lake and Camp Friends.
Sprinkler Lake, and it building on what she said, that doesn't say anything in their letter about there's an opposing plan. So I would not have known that there's an alternate, in their letter, it doesn't say anything about that. So
Okay.
if the
It
board,
was in the emails. I got 2 emails from them,
all right.
and it was in that email.
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't know there was any potential conflict or at anything. I don't want to say it's conflict, but I haven't read their whole letter, and I didn't put it in everybody's packet because it's 13 pages, but just to be aware that I didn't know there was more than one option. They're just saying support this group or, not asking for money.
If you wanted to, you could collectively, you could have a motion to support this group and then get that sent off to Chris, and they would use it tomorrow when they do their presentation. But
I would make a motion to do that. Sprinkler Lake is a jewel.
it
It
is.
was wonderful for my kids when they were growing up. Fond memories. Joe, the teacher, the phys ed teacher was in Joelle.
Yes.
What was
Forgotten,
her
yeah.
last name?
Yes.
Anyways, yeah, she was in charge of that. And they had fishing for the children and stuff on the pond, and it's a great educational thing. I would hate to see that.
I'll
be lost.
second the motion so we can discuss it.
Okay.
So now we're in discussion. Do you want me to read the whole letter? So that,
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, it's 13 pages. I mean, is Sprinkler Lake in Alcona County?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's west of Mankato.
And I think, it's not responsible to support something with a 13-page thing that I've never read. On the other hand, to say that the Alcona County Commission on Aging supports initiatives to bring educational opportunities to our community. We do that, we're not taking sides, and we pass it along. So I would just put some words in Pam's mouth to say the Alcona County Commission on Aging supports opportunities to bring educational programming to our community.
If I may share with you, they have a relatively short list. Some potential user groups that we expect to use Sprinkler Lake are as follows: individuals, schools, colleges, universities, family events, community groups, businesses, local, state, and federal agencies and tribal agencies.
Emmanuel Lutheran just had a camp out over there, so the churches are using it also.
Okay, so any more discussion on that?
Thank you.
If not, we'll
Chris
have a
will
vote. We have
be
a motion
appreciative.
by Pam, seconded by Ty to show support for the Sprinkler Lake project, correct?
Educational.
Educational. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Any more on secretary, Bob?
No.
Okay, and committee reports, Bob? We're done on that.
No more
one, too?
committee.
Okay, we'll go to unfinished business, son. New building project naming. I have a couple things that, under that is, I really believe that we just stick with the Sunrise Center, spelled different than the one in Alpena. We have changed, we have the logo made, we paid money for that. We have all the documents changed. We have everything going out as the new Sunrise Center. And then to change that name now, at this stage of the, on the river, I would be totally against changing the name at this point. I think it'd make a lot of work for Wendy and the board and the staff to change everything, all the billing, all the income, all the, everything pretty much, right? Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, I really, we already have the website created. It's on the tax roll at
Mm-hmm.
the Sunrise Community Center, so somebody.
What exactly, what is the exact?
I can give you some of that.
I believe it was Sunrise, Alcona Sunrise Center.
Right. I think that's it too, and if I could comment, yeah, all things being equal, to not have something that overlaps with something that's not exactly us in Alpena, it'd be great, but it does. And they spell center TRE. They're all fancy. We spell it TER. But it would be, all things equal, it'd be better if there wasn't. But if you Google Alcona Sunrise Center, it gets to us. It gets to the ACCOA. Not everybody's going to do that. People are going to put in Sunrise Center, and there will be some confusion. But, you know, half the stuff on the east side of the state is Sunrise this and Sunrise that. But I think what we can do as, you know, staff and a board and everybody is make sure we're diligent in our correspondence thing. It's the Alcona Sunrise Center, the Alcona Sunrise Center. And that's going to get out there, and, you know, if we buy those keywords on our website, do things like that, people are going to find us. And again, I think an investment's already been made, and that investment is worth a lot.
Right.
But I'm saying even in name recognition.
Bob, did you have something?
I respect Ty's opinion on once a decision has been made, you don't change it, but I would humbly disagree. And I'll tell you why. I think many decisions have been made the last several years that have been made by 4 board members, 5, 6. If we have a full board of 9 now, I would feel very bad that I did not give those new board members feel like they had any input on something that can be changed. And the truth is, it can be changed. It is not too late. I spoke to the website developers. They think it would be about a $200 fee, extra fee to them to change the websites, the social media profiles and such. So it can be done. Now, I don't know how much Wendy and her team have invested time or money into the Sunrise Center name, but speak now or forever hold your peace. I mean, this can be changed now if the board felt like this was not the best direction to go.
Again, so we can discuss it, I want to make a motion that we officially name the new building the Alcona Sunrise Center, CENTER.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor,
I second it.
seconded by Rowan, open for discussion.
comment or discussion?
Yeah.
I have no problem with the Sunrise Center. I think it should be ACCOA Sunrise Center if it, as opposed to Alcona Center. Or even Village, ACCOA Village Sunrise Center. So I'm not adverse to the Sunrise Center, but I would not vote positively for Alcona Senior Center, or it's Alcona Sunrise Center. I would want ACCOA name somehow prominent in that or as part of that name.
I think it was, wasn't it?
I thought so, it was
I thought it was
County.
Elkhorn County Commission on Aging,
Sunrise Center.
the Sunrise Center, or whatever.
So my opinion is if the board is happy with that, we don't need to do anything. That's what it is. We decided, we got what's it called? You went over and signed it. We locked that name down, so we own.
I would ask for the record, what exactly is locked down? I'm hearing different things. What exactly is out there?
I have it, and I printed it up, actually Kim printed it up for me, it was what was on the tax roll. I have it sitting on my desk, I can show it to you.
Well, I mean, I believe you, but just what is it? Is it Alcona County Commission on Aging Sunrise Center? Is it ACCOA Sunrise Center? Is it Alcona?
Did you go get it?
Yeah, you can get it, that is. I mean, just because we're arguing, leave it the same.
Yeah, and I don't want it to sound like an argument. I'm just stating that I think it can be revisited if the board feels like that was a bad choice, that maybe 5 members, several of which maybe are not even here anymore. I think that's something that can be changed if the board wants to change.
Can I ask why we have to have a name? Why is this whole thing there?
I think a lot of the discussion was when you have a wedding reception or you have a graduation party or a reunion, people say, where are you having it? Oh, we're having it at the Alcona County Commission on Aging. Or did you want to have it, we're having it at the
I mean,
Alcona Sunrise Center.
we can't market it without having a name.
Yeah, it's just
Well, it
that,
has a name.
it just
We have a
sounds
name.
better. The board thought at the time it sounded better.
This is, it's not a building, it's a,
This is
who we
Alcona
are.
County Commission on Aging building.
Okay, so if I'm having a wedding, I don't want it to say that. I would like to have it sound wonderful. I wouldn't want it to say, oh, I'm having it at the senior center. You know, I mean, we've done it for many, many years and all the parties and everything. But it would just sound so much better if it was like Village Commons, the Village Center, Shaw Commons was probably not a good idea right now, but Village Commons, you know, because it entails a lot more than just the Sunrise Center. Or not the Sunrise Center, but the
Senior Center.
Senior Center. You know, it would include all of it as far as the gym and the exercise and the game room and the bungalows. It would just bring everything more together than just saying, and it would look better on an invitation.
I think that's what we had, and we had our logo done too with the sunrise coming up, and I think it was
Yeah,
actually the Sunrise Center.
How many, as a board member, we don't even wear those shirts. I've worn mine twice. Nobody else has worn those
I
shirts.
wore it twice,
Did
here.
you? For the meeting?
Yes.
Because I think of that every day, and it's like,
I looked at it today and I'm like,
yeah, I'm not wearing that.
I wonder if everybody's gonna wear that shirt today.
You need hoodies. You need hoodies that say. Well, my point is just that I've heard from the community, not just Judy, other people. Carolyn brought it up and gave a report last week about Sunrise Center. So yes, she was, you know, is there confusion that it needs to be revisited? If everybody is comfortable with that, I'm comfortable with that.
Everything's Sunrise Center. Everything's Sunrise this, Sunrise Health, Sunrise Dental, Sunrise,
And
We're not out of the sunrise part of it, because everything on this side is sunrise.
I think it
And
should be
if-
Sunset.
Well, when do you party at night?
Spruce has such beautiful sunsets.
if you Google Village Commons, there's hundreds.
Is there?
State of
I was gonna
Michigan,
say
yes,
thousands, yeah.
hundreds, thousands.
I wouldn't prefer it in Village of Lincoln, Lincoln Center. I wouldn't prefer that. I like, if it's the Alcona County Sunrise Center, that would be great, or Alcona. If whatever's on the list, and like you said, we only had 4, and we kicked it around, and that was what we came up with, and when you look at your book, I believe, Alcona.
That's probably exactly what it says.
It doesn't say Sunrise.
I mean, I was hoping we had 9 people here today and 9 people could say, look, we all sign off on this. Speak, or hold your peace.
I appreciate you bringing it up. My motion is ready for friendly amendments if somebody comes up with something better, but.
Was we waiting for Wendy to?
Yeah. But I think, again, there's certain documents where you're gonna say that site is the Alcona County Commission on Aging Sunrise Center.
I'm happy with
That
that.
doesn't roll off the tongue on a wedding invitation. Alcona Sunrise Center is just shorthand. You have Chevrolet, you have Chevy, okay? Alcona Sunrise Center differentiates it from the place in Alpena, and it's not a mouthful. It can have a nice logo. The logo can always say Alcona Sunrise Center, and then at the bottom, ACCOA. If people care, they can look up what that is. But I think Alcona Sunrise Center is a very marketable way to put our brand out there. And a brand is important if we're gonna wanna bring in revenue by people using it. So, the name that Wendy has is Alcona Sunrise Community Senior. That's what you're suggesting?
Yes,
Okay.
I've gone through that.
Okay, well, let's just,
And
wait till,
to your point, I think ACCOA Sunrise Center is just as,
Originally, this is supposed to be a community, well, originally it's supposed to be a senior center. But, from the past, it kind of turned into a community center too. That way, you got both names, community and senior center on there. Sunrise, Alcona Sunrise, community and senior center.
I guess we just, when it comes back and see what it says, but
People still gonna, when they talk about us, they're still gonna say, oh, the senior center. I mean, that's Alcona. Everybody knows us as the senior center. So it's still, no matter what name we give it, they're still gonna say at the senior center in Lincoln.
A lot of
So
people will,
it's-
but the younger ones won't. I'm not
Well.
gonna call it that all the time.
I don't. call
So
it
it's
senior
really
center.
just talking
That
about,
is
for
not a
instance,
senior center anymore.
social media. What's the social media page gonna say? And they've set them up for everything. So having that delineation, whether they rather have it ACCOA Sunrise Center or Alcona Sunrise Center, is an important distinction. We do need to decide that for official naming purposes. Now, people can still call it senior center, they can call it the gym,
Whatever
they
they
can
wanna
call
call
it
it,
the
yeah.
courts.
call it community center meeting.
You know, like Fairfield Inn by Marriott. I mean,
Right.
they have several different names for their
There's an advantage,
hotels
to us having something
to market.
simple and clear to market. Sunrise Center by itself, I believe, is too generic and can cause confusion. So whether we call it Alcona Sunrise Center or ACCOA Sunrise Center, whatever, we put those things on it. And I think that's how we go to market. What's on documents is irrelevant.
Correct. I agree. I think if everybody is happy with Sunrise Center, then this issue discussion is really,
Isn't this our
Sad.
logo right there?
That's our logo, but I don't think that's our name.
they're going to change that. They're going to kind of use the same logo, but change. It might say AC, Alcona County Commission on Aging, and then Sunrise Center where it says commission, for instance. And if everybody's good with that,
Well, the problem, I just happened to click what the guy said this morning from Coons. They're getting ready to do the logo today, so we have to make a decision. I think it's gonna say, I'm not sure, but the logo's gonna, on the new gym, I think they're gonna be painting.
unless somebody wants to change
Today or
from the
tomorrow.
Sunrise Center, I think we're set with that. If everybody's good with the Sunrise Center, with either it's ACCOA or Alcona, we have that locked down.
No, time out. My motion was to call it the Alcona Sunrise Center, but I would say, okay, but that's just the name of the property owner. It says the Sunrise Center, brackets, ACCOA, brackets. I'm willing to take a friendly amendment to change it to the ACCOA Sunrise Center. I believe that Sunrise Center by itself is too generic and it's going to cause confusion. Alcona Sunrise Center, ACCOA Sunrise Center. Somebody asked for a friendly amendment. I'll change it, my motion to ACCOA right now.
I like that.
Okay, so I'm going to change my motion to say I would like us to officially call that building for marketing and promotional purposes, which all of a sudden starts meaning signs and stuff like that, the ACCOA Sunrise Center.
Yes, I'll second. I like
Okay,
that.
so Dolores is seconding my amended motion.
Okay, discussion, I guess it's been discussed already.
Roland still has some concern and,
Who does? Oh,
You know, I've gone through this, when I had the restaurant, we named it Granny's Kitchen. Found out that I couldn't have the Granny's Kitchen unless I added another name to it. Because there was the Granny's Kitchen down around, Grand Rapids, I think it was. And so I added Hubbard Lake Granny's Kitchen. And that's what I think is what we need to do here.
So I think ACCOA Sunrise Center accomplishes that for us.
Bob
That's
checked
like
all that.
adding Hubbard Lake.
I believe Bob checked all that when you put it to the Sunrise Center. Didn't you see if there was anyone else that had, what's the official name?
ACCOA Sunrise Center.
Yeah, nobody had, it was available.
It was
For
available.
sure.
That's all I.
Yeah.
So he checked what you're saying and made sure when it was filed, doing business as the DBA. See, that just says the property owner from the taxes, but the DBA says something. Do we have the actual DBA paperwork?
I do not.
Honestly, it doesn't matter.
I think,
It doesn't matter. We don't want to knowingly use a name that's gonna cause confusion. But the name that we go to market with does not have to match the DBA exactly.
Correct.
It's DBA, doing business as. You know, ACCOA sunrisecenter.com, nobody has it. GoDaddy.org, nobody has it. Doesn't mean we change our website, we should leave it what it is. But we buy this, so anybody that puts it in by accident goes right there. So to Roland's point, I think with the, the little bit of due diligence of using Google and GoDaddy, we're okay. There's not things out there where if somebody put in, Alcona, Senior Sunrise Center, Senior Center, ACCOA, they're all going to get to us. And I think adding the ACCOA part to it, like you did with the restaurant, will cover it.
If you think so, then I'll go along with it.
Bob,
My opinion is if we vote in support of this, we're good. everything, nothing needs to be changed. Wendy doesn't need to change anything. The website people, we've already locked down these names. We're just good. We're just confirming that everybody that's on this board now is content with that.
I'm good with that. Everybody ready to vote?
Yeah.
Need a roll call?
ACCOA,
Sunrise Center.
Sunrise Center.
Do we need a roll call on that, or should we just vote?
I don't think so.
Okay, all in favor of
Aye.
changing,
Aye.
moving the name to ACCOA Sunrise Center? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay. Membership fees, Ty was looking into them and he wants to report back
Yeah,
later.
just real quick, I met with Wendy. Her and her staff did a great job to give you guys information that you approved at the February meeting. I just am trying to put it in a spreadsheet and find some other places. No alarm bells are going off yet, but I'm trying to go, like I looked at Otsego, Bay County, Alcona Community College Wellness Center. I'm just trying to get more data points. There's nothing to do now. I'd like to do this and then come back to the board. Maybe there'll be a recommendation to change one thing. So far, no, but it'll help us clarify some things, because as I get into other people's website, they all define what's a family different. They all define what's a household different. Spouses, oh boy. Well, let's learn from other people's mistakes. So give me another couple weeks on that. Good news is what you already did looks great, but I'm just gonna try to run this down, get a few more data points. And then, we can be confident saying, well, we might change in the future, but, $10 an hour for playing pickleball, that's the going rate. We'll do it. So that's just my report on that.
Okay.
The website people are ready to go right now
Then they should go.
with the
Yeah.
numbers we give them. That doesn't mean it can't be changed,
Exactly.
but they are at the point right now, and I think they're meeting with Wendy on Thursday. They're ready to go with what we've got, unless we say, hold on.
My recommendation is, I looked at what Wendy did. I don't know who helped you, but they did a thorough job. They made a good recommendation. You approved it. Godspeed. I'm just gonna follow this through a little bit more. So when people in the community are, we can get Alcona County Review to do an interview with Wendy, and Wendy say, oh, we got this spreadsheet with 35 data points on it. That's how we came up with it. Next point. That's all.
Do we think then, because those are just promotional rates that we've agreed on for now. Is this something we could start putting in the paper? I mean, when are we gonna start taking membership? I mean, do we know? Are we gonna start taking them July 1st if we're gonna be in there? I mean,
If Ty doesn't have any objection, what the research he's done, I don't see a problem with giving them okay to start advertising these rates on the website, on social media, whatever. Now, the date that it's going to be open, I don't know. I don't know. They didn't specifically ask for me for that information, but they said they're ready to do the costs and put that in the fee schedule page and such like that.
I haven't had time yet to look into banquet rentals and all that kind of stuff. I was just kind of focusing on, pickleball, but I want to rent the court, but I'm not a member, non-resident. Again, I think the work that was done to date is reasonable, responsible. Go forward, see what happens, might have to change. But we don't have $10 for a day pass, and other people have 1, and other people have 100. We have 10, and other people have 10, 15, 12, okay? So there's nothing, if anything, so far, we're on the low side, which we should be. We're not in affluent county.
Right.
So I think the work that was done to get us so far is good. I'm just gonna try to take a little further, that's all.
when we discussed this, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, I was quite concerned about, let's say Judy buys a membership. And then she's got her membership, and then this group is gonna come in and play pickleball, and we're charging each one of them. And I'm against charging her to play again when she's already got a membership. Is that
I'm
something?
trying to dig into that level of detail. I'm
Okay.
not quite there yet, but the way other places do it, for example, down in East Tawas, and they are pretty sophisticated on residents, summer residents. You know, you get to be a summer resident if you stay in the trailer park down there. So they've worked this out pretty finite. And if you're a member, you pay a certain amount of money and you can go over there, and if nobody's using the gym, you can roll out the pickleball net and play pickleball with your friend all you want. Even if you're a member, if your little club wants to have Tuesdays at 8 o'clock, this is for us, then they do pay something extra. But if you just want to go use the gym, your membership fee covers it. You just want to go, hey, your grandkid, you want to go shoot some hoops, that's not renting the gym. The receptionist might say, hey, Dolores, you and all your ladies got to get out of here in 45 minutes. We've got somebody who rented the basketball court. Oh, okay, thank you. No, so that's how they handle it.
Kind of reserved.
It's kind of reserving,
It's reserving the court.
but yeah, you don't have to pay extra for, now, the Aplex, totally different. The Aplex, even if you buy, and I have to call them on the phone because I couldn't believe it on the website. Even if you have a pickleball membership, you have to pay to step on the court.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
It's not
That's
what,
true.
it's not what we have on.
That's what, we did not approve that. We approved that if you are a member, you do not have to pay extra to play pickleball. But we did approve that if you want to specifically reserve a court for you and your 4 buddies to play, and you want to reserve it, there is a fee for that. Now, if you just, you and your buddies come in and there's a court open, well, you saved yourself money. But if you want to specifically reserve it, you have to pay. But members do not have to pay pickleball for right now. That's what we did it.
And that's what they do in East Tawas, which is pretty close by.
Mhm.
Well, that was it. I mean, I just wanted to make sure if they can go forward with presenting those membership fees. Of course, they don't know what time it's going to start, but at least those fees, if we all agree.
Right. I agree. I thought we did.
I already agree.
We already did we already did the new business. We already did the unapproved
I agree again. Okay.
dedication ceremony. Some discussions have been made about setting a time for a ceremony, and some preliminary lists have been made of who dignitaries to be invited and such. But we probably need to hone in on a date right now. Now, if Andy is 99.9% sure we're going to be in by June 21st, that's one thing. If he's only 40% sure and things get pushed out again, that might be an issue. But the 2 possible dates were like July 11th and July 18th, something like that. But the remaining question was, but there's some disagreement on, would you rather have it on a Friday afternoon, or would you rather have it on a Saturday? And there's pros and cons to both.
My input would be, if we're going to get the TV stations to cover it, we want to have it on Friday, not Saturday, just so they can send a film crew down from Channel 5 or whatever. It just makes it that much more difficult on the weekend. None of these places have full-time reporters anymore.
Right, on the other hand, you have all the shops around the area, the school, oh, not the school so much, but you have all the shops and all the parents at work, and there's usually double parents at work nowadays. Can't make a dedication on Friday. Are we only looking at seniors, or are we looking at?
I think the
Community
question is,
dedication.
who's the audience? The people that show up or the people that read about it the next Wednesday in the Alcona Review or the Scotia Press? I mean, I think you want to, of course, have as many people there and important seniors there, but I think you schedule it to where you can get the most promotion opportunity out of it, and it's just going to be better on Friday.
What kind of event are we talking about?
I'm sorry?
What kind of event are we talking about here?
Wendy and Carolyn have already done a lot of promotion or preliminary work on that. A flag raising, a keynote speaker of 5 or 6 minutes, acknowledgement of the architect, acknowledgement of the developer, past board members.
State representative,
I've heard about this before.
state representative.
State representative, inviting, who shows up, it's up to them, but
Oh, this is you, Carolyn and Bob have been, or Bob, Carolyn, and Wendy have been putting together the.
We just literally started last, like 3
Okay,
days ago.
okay.
So it's not something that, yeah.
Because that kind of dictates the day, right, as you mentioned, like what the audience is. Some ribbon cuttings are, smaller events and done on people's schedules that can get there and
July 18th is a Friday.
July what?
July 18th is a Friday.
Yep, and so it's the 11th.
And,
I'm out of
I'd
town.
vote for the latter than the earlier one.
well, I think, further handling this would be good, the marketing and operations committee, whoever, but at least we could right now lock down a date. If we did nothing else today, Friday or Saturday, whatever, July 18th or 19th, does anybody have a preference on the Friday or Saturday there?
And I'm gonna continue my sentence. It depends on the type of event and the audience that you're expecting on what day it should be, whether it's a Friday or Saturday. And I haven't heard that clarified.
We were looking at like an open house, flag raising, dedication, ribbon cutting, a speaker, acknowledging the construction manager, acknowledging the state
Are you
representative,
expecting?
and then an open house with refreshments.
Okay, so you're expecting the community to be coming in and all of that?
Or we're hoping.
I'm hoping
Well, I'm
that,
just saying,
yeah.
I'm not feeling take this, I'm just trying to get a.
I'm hoping that's kind of what we were looking at, if I'm not, Carolyn, isn't
Like
that
maybe
I'm
maybe a
thinking-
kind of an open house?
a
I'm
slight,
thinking
a
of
slight
Saturday.
ceremony first and then an open tour of the place. Wendy said that, look, as far as the staff goes, since they don't work on a Friday afternoon, not only would the staff be more likely to be available, but there isn't other things going on in that section of the building on a Friday. Same with a Saturday, maybe, I see pros and cons to both.
The point about the staff is really, really important. And, if they get paid by the hour, they get a little bit of overtime to be there on Friday afternoon. But I think it's wonderful if, whether it's the press or dignitaries or the community who just reads negative thing on Facebook, I want them to come in and have a conversation with the lady who bakes the bread every day and have her talk about, yeah, this is about this is how important it is. Or to have somebody there with a name tag that says food delivery. And, oh, what do you do? How many people do you see a week? And so to me, that whole notion of it's not just a ribbon cutting for dignitaries. It's flipping it around to, it's an open house where everybody can show off what they have and what they do. And so that's a great reason to have it on Friday afternoon. You have it, at 11 o'clock or right at 12 when the staff's done. And then people get a chance to meet the people that really make the thing work.
I would go along with maybe having it around 4 or 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon so that we could get more of the people that's paying taxes to support this program. So more of them maybe would come in and see what we're doing, what we've got. And because I think if we have it at noon, you got all these, the taxpayers is all working, most of them.
In our county, a lot of the taxpayers are retired.
Well, you're right. I don't know. I just feel that Friday, late evening, early evening, I should say, or a Saturday afternoon, I think would be better. And I think, really, I think a lot of our staff would come in and not expect to get paid just to show off our new building.
No, they won't.
No.
Oh,
Well, so then that brings
I
the-
think they would. I think they would.
Might.
I want to pay them.
I really think they would.
I
Well,
don't think
I-
they would. It's hard enough getting them to come in on Friday for a staff meeting, because the majority of them don't even work on Fridays. So I don't know.
On what time they need to be paid, Carolyn?
I think that if Mr. Thomas does come, and I'm lined up to contact him, but I didn't have a date or time yet. So I wanted to wait until I had that. I think we lose the folks from NEMSCA, we lose Lisa Bowen, we lose her staff, we lose possibly our staff if we do it in the evening or on Saturday. We lose our speakers. And it's a weekend in the summer. And I think Saturdays, people are going to be gone. And I think Friday night, they either are expecting family or guests, or they're going. My perception is, I think Friday afternoon, and when we had our discussions, we talked about 1 o'clock.
1 to 3, I think our discussion.
1 to 3 or
was.
1 to 4.
1 to 4.
Well,
Whatever.
separate the two, a certain period of time for the ceremony, and then open for hours for people to have somebody show them around or familiarize themselves. So an open house after the actual ceremony.
I think 1 o'clock's a good compromise. Staff can help straighten stuff up, work in the morning. We pay them till the thing's done. They should be paid. Gives dignitaries, somebody's driving from Lansing or something, they don't have to leave at 7 in the morning. So 1 o'clock for start, when it ends, don't care. But I think a 1 o'clock, opening, a dedication and an open house, that sounds wonderful, and that really sticks a stake in the ground to say July 18th. And it doesn't mean every little thing works. It means it's done enough that you can show it off. And, there's not going to be any grass, it's going to be dirt, but it'll probably be raked. We'll have a second level on the asphalt, but I think that's a great goal to have it. And again, I feel very strongly, I'm going to hide when they have that thing as a board member, because what the heck did I do to bring this thing here? Nothing. Been on the board for a month. I didn't do a damn thing to bring this here. But the staff who's been feeding people like, Dolores and Rollin, been supporting this thing forever. That's who needs to be front and center. And again, I think having the staff there and paying them really sends a message. I want people to walk through the offices and see somebody. What do you do? Oh, I help people with their Social Security problems. That's what I do. I help them with government paperwork. Awesome. We just hand it. I think it'd be a wonderful thing.
And why aren't we discussing Thursday? Why is it a Friday or Saturday? Because to the point about the weekend and people with weekend plans and all of that, Thursday is more stable day.
Thursday, we'd be serving meals.
And the staff would be in the offices till 4:30 or. So I get that whole question, is it the best, do you want people doing an open house when your staff is there working or when they're not working. They might be there, but not working as on, I have no preference. I'd like to know Pam's opinion. She's quiet over there.
It's always scary when I'm quiet. I'm gonna be gone on the 18th.
How about the week before?
I'm here. I just found out I have my nephew's graduation is the,
Because those were the two options, those two weekends, Friday or Saturday of
Doesn't
those two
matter.
weekends, the 18th or the 11th, whatever. I said the 18th just in case Andy pushes it back again, but we could keep
exactly.
doing that into August, you know. So the potential dates were also July, that weekend also, that 11th weekend.
I don't wanna be the reason why we have to change the date. I don't have to be there, right?
Would you prefer, Friday or Saturday? Between a
I
Friday
think,
and a Saturday.
Honestly, I would say Friday. Just because Saturdays in the summertime, everybody's going, and it seems like everybody puts everything on the same days. So I think you're gonna have a lot of competition on a Saturday.
Graduations are still going on.
Still going on, yeah,
Yeah.
and those are always
Two
There's
Saturdays.
always
Weddings.
July weddings.
Yeah,
I don't have the dates in front of me. I think Harrisville always has their like wine and jazz fest.
That's on the 12th.
Is it?
but that's Saturday, correct? Yeah, so I think wise decision is Friday. Because like he said, you got your newspaper, you got TV people, they're more apt to come. And the people that don't show up will be able to read about it in the newspapers. I mean, honestly, we only get 1 to 2 minutes of news time on TV anyways. But it should be a blip on the community. On TV, they always do community.
I think the advantage of picking a day is we can start getting it out there. I'll
Right.
call the people that do the placemats this afternoon, because I always call them about the old timers game and say,
When's that?
Oh, I guess I don't.
Which weekend? Which
Phil,
week went?
the first Saturday after Labor Day. Exactly. But anyway, we can start getting the word out there. You get on the placemats. ACCOA Sunrise Center grand opening,
Any preference?
Only dedication.
dedication.
Which of those weekends
18,
will you prefer?
just because it buys us more time.
I was gonna say, I would probably go with the 18th because of the time. Should we not be open yet? God forbid.
We want to make sure we're situated, we don't have people in there when we're still have food in.
Well, I'd make a motion that we hold it on Friday, July, is it 17th, 18th?
18th.
At 1 p.m.
A ceremony followed by an open house, ceremony starting at 1 p.m.
Perfect. Second.
Okay, motion by Bob, seconded by Ty to open house dedication ceremony on July 18th, starting at 1 o'clock till,
Figure that out.
figure it out. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
If I may, I'm concerned about getting the invitations done. I'm concerned about getting on people's agenda that we want there. And I've taken the liberty of preparing multiple pages of questions. And we've, both Phil and Wendy and Dr. Turek and I met. I recognize I do not have a voice, a finalizing voice or a voice as far as picking directions. But I think I have a voice as far as asking questions. And that's what I've done, I think, and I hope. So I may feel strongly about some of the ideas, but they are not as we bring this forward, it is not Carolyn saying this is what it should be. We have run it past two board members and an executive director. So,
And I think we could probably maybe get Ray roped in, she'd be a vet planner, so Charity was looking up a few things for us, but there could be more she could be doing too.
Okay, pass July 18th. Move on to public comment, limit 2 minutes
No,
per.
no, no.
Well, what?
Couple things. We, put forward to new business the issue with the generator.
Right.
I circulated, an email to just the people that were copied on the other email. I wasn't sure exactly who to send it to, but basically, where that stood is at the finance committee meeting, I said, oh, hey, I'll get with Wendy and dig into whatever paperwork we had. So Wendy had a very thorough folder that had everything except the one piece of paper we need. She had a warranty deed and a closing statement, and she had 4 things, but the one thing that wasn't in there was the purchase agreement. That's the piece of paper in a real estate transaction you do at the very beginning that says, what am I buying and how much am I gonna pay for it? And that is where, at least in residential, might be different for commercial, where you put in there things that are like, does a refrigerator come, does a washing machine come, et cetera, et cetera. So, I put it out there, you know, before we can even discuss this, we need to run down that piece of paper. If that piece of paper doesn't exist, that's fine, then we'll regroup and make a decision with the 4 pieces of paper we have, which don't discuss it at all. But if we could ask the real estate agent for the purchase agreement, that's the document that should cover that issue.
But it's not, because if we buy a grant and it doesn't matter what the purchase agreement is, we have to follow the regulations.
Wendy, you're not, I understand there's 2 separate issues. One is, what was the understanding, I just use the word understanding. What was the understanding with Brad over ownership of the generator? That's one of it. Then once we have that, what do we do about it? Everybody understands, if the understanding was that we hand it to them, oops, we can't. So the problem is, we have the second part figured out. We can't give it to him. Understood. We just want to understand what was the agreement in the beginning, so that, I mean, this is somebody we're going to continue to do business with. Nobody, if it's an honest mistake, it's an honest mistake, and we say, Brad, we're sorry, we made a promise we couldn't keep. What's plan B? And then we figure it out, and we come up with a fair thing. It's not going to be hard. But we can't have that discussion if we don't know. Because if the purchase agreement does not discuss the generator at all, then we have 5 pieces of paper that don't discuss it. It's hard to think it was a misunderstanding.
At the closing, I can tell you, John and I and Brad and Lucy sat at the closing, and we specifically looked right at him and told him, now you realize the generator does not go with a sale. And he said, oh, I guess I thought it did, but I said, no, we can't because of the grant we got. And he said, okay. Had he not wanted to sign the purchase agreement, he wouldn't have signed it at the time. But John and I both expressed that the generator did not go with the building. That was right in Dave Cook's office, and
I was just, again.
so,
it could have been,
you know, the purchase, I know at the time of the closing, Brad didn't know, he did know that the generator was not going with the building. That was John and all the ladies over to the abstract.
The good news is, if our only goal is to play hardball, we win. I have 4 pieces of paper that say, we win, we win, we win, we win, because it's not on there. We're just trying to not win without understanding. And again, I just think it's worth one phone call to the real estate agent. Do we have the purchase agreement? If it's not mentioned, then we have another discussion on what do we do?
We have a further discussion that if there's, how do we make, if a misunderstanding, a mistake was made, how do we move forward after that? And everybody on this board wants to make sure
Right.
that Brad Cole is acknowledged for what he's done here and make sure there's no hard feelings going down.
But again, I think it's, when it's presented to Brad, it's Brad, 5 pieces of paper, 3 of whom you signed. Don't discuss it. And Phil brought it up at the closing. We're sorry. We're sorry.
Bill brought it up, John brought it up, and the ladies were there, so
Okay.
I don't want no hard feelings with Brad, because he's. done
Nobody
with the
wants hard
son,
feelings.
I have talked to Brad personally too, and well, he's my neighbor, so I talk to him just about every day. He told me that when he bids, to put a bid in on this building, he took under consideration the roof. When does it have to be replaced? The heating system, the condition of the building, the floors, everything. He took into consideration the generator. The generator is attached to this building.
Only if the grant says it is.
The grant was not
Grant-
even mentioned
grant
in that,
supersedes everything.
but it wasn't even mentioned in the paperwork, the contract. And so he said, that's like when I bid on something and then you come in later and take out the carpet. I like the carpet, so I'm gonna take it with me. Or I like those light fixtures, I'll just take them with me.
But what you're
So
failing is,
the contract did not say that generator did not go with the building.
but before he signed that contract, he was made aware of it.
Right, the
Okay.
day that he picked up his ink pen to sign his name, that's when he was made aware of it.
Again, my point was, I'm not comfortable making a decision without one more piece of information that should be right in somebody's file. Let's get that piece of information, because the purchase agreement should specifically detail those kinds of things. What if the purchase agreement says the generator comes with it? Oops, now we got a whole other thing. But to discuss this without having this one more piece of information doesn't do us any good. We need to get our hands on that and then get together and come up with a fair solution.
Worst case scenario, we'll have to pay him for the generator. It's not like we're not gonna take care of him, he's taking care of us.
Well, pay them for a used generator.
Not new,
Right,
of course,
right,
but yeah,
but let's
I
just-
mean, we're not here to screw
Again,
Brad Cole.
No, definitely not.
Wendy had all kinds of good stuff. She gave it to me. It was all neat. And it's just like, oh, we need one more piece of paper. So let's just. get our
Well,
hands on it.
my question is then why would, I don't even know who, I'm assuming Andy's, why would he be asking Brad to pay another 15,000?
There is no Andy Brad. We need to take
Well,
that part.
I forget where the paper was, but anyway, it is asking Brad, or Brad has agreed, or Brad would pay another 15,000 and ACCOA would pay more money to a different generator company.
It wasn't to a different generator company, it was to the same generator, to Generac, it was to a company up in
I'm
Alpena.
sure.
That was gonna take that one into
I'm
trade.
sure the trade-in on the old generator does not equal the cost of a new generator.
Correct.
There's gonna be a difference. So there's one thing of, what will we give you on trade-in on your old generator? Great, you're gonna owe us this much more, and it pays that much more, we get a new generator. So now the generator company has this used generator sitting attached to this building. Probably makes sense for all parties to somehow sell that to Brad Cole at a reasonable amount. Why would you move it? Why do they want it? It's just, again, we're bending over backwards to be fair, but we need one more piece of information. That's all. Because,
Do you need the purchase agreement? Is
yes,
that?
yes.
Well, I'm sure Brad's got it.
Well, we just, again, Wendy just gave me the papers on Friday. I looked at them over the weekend. There's this and that. I found 4 different kinds of real estate paperwork. I'm missing one. I'm sure Wendy can make one phone call and get our signed copy from the real estate agent, and then we can get back together and make a decision. But if this was, I sold 2 homes where I installed generators, and you bet your bottom dollar that that was called out. Because it cost $7, $8 grand, and people want to know, are you taking that or are you leaving that? It was in there. So we're not talking about curtains in the kitchen. We're talking about an expensive piece of hardware that if someone expected to stay should be in the purchase agreement. Yes, I'm buying this building and X comes with it. Are we leaving anything in the kitchen? Anything? I mean, I don't want to veer off. My point is the purchase agreement should give us guidance on.
I'm just not sure how we could have even tried to sell this building without knowing we could sell that generator. You know what I mean? We must have.
But
Not.
yeah, that's not the point. That's not the point.
Yes, in a way.
So if it's not mentioned in the purchase agreement,
Yes.
what does that mean? That means that the generator doesn't stay, or does that mean the generator does stay? If it's not even mentioned in the building, in the
Again,
contract.
let's talk about that when we get to purchase agreement. Because there's a 50-50 shot, it's in there. And now we got a whole nother problem.
It isn't in there.
I know.
I talked to Brad, it's not in there.
Okay, well, all right, but again,
Okay.
we just need to get our hands on that.
Okay, we'll do that when we get that one piece of paper then. We'll move on to public comment
No,
from,
well,
you got anything else?
Yeah, the other thing, the big thing was we wanted to have, I don't know who's responsible for putting this together, but we want an accounting from Andy of our run rate, our, glide path into the dirt for this airplane that's at 40,000 feet and the engine's quit. It's all good. It's 150 miles to the airport and we got Sully flying it. He's gonna make it. So, again, I'm only positive thinking. And it might just be, again, Andy, we're not putting a second coat on the parking lot. I know there's reasons why we should, but we're not doing it. We're gonna do the second coat spring of 26. What else you got? We need to have those kind of conversations. And that's just, unfortunately, there's probably not a lot of other good examples that have a lot of zeros, but that's one. That place can open with, we're gonna get potholes. Yeah, we're gonna get potholes. But, we need, I don't know, I don't propose how we get to this. I don't, but I'm not comfortable, leaving this board meeting and people in the community saying, when's it gonna be done? I'm gonna say, guess what? June 21st, and we're having a dedication on July 18th at 1 o'clock. I hope you're gonna be there. Well, did you run out of money? I have no idea. That's not a good answer for me. Saying we're gonna find out, we're not gonna spend the last dollar and, not have a bunch of important stuff that affects our certificate of occupancy not done, but it's just it's time. It doesn't matter if we should have done it 6 months ago. It doesn't, it's all water and bricks, not even there. And 6 months ago, the answer would have been, oh, we're fine, right? Well, we're fine doesn't cut it if we're gonna open in 26 days. We need a real accounting. And if compensation's being deferred, well, that's just a cash flow issue. That's not a budget issue. And again, none of us have ever done a project where we didn't say to the contractor, as we're getting down to short strokes, well, what we got left to get done, how much money we got left. We need to look each other in the eye. And again, if it's over budget, I won't be surprised, I won't be shocked, I won't be upset. That's not any of that. It's just, what have we spent? What do we still have to do? How much money do we have left? And what decisions do we have to make? Do we, take money from here to pay for that? Oh, we can't, or we can. Or just, do we have to defer some things? And, I'll look at anybody in the community in the eye and they say, geez, this parking lot isn't even done. You don't have lines on it. Yeah, well, we got a plan, and that's going to get done in the spring because we want to make sure that we can serve meals. That we're focused on that kind of stuff. And so I don't know the answer on how to get to this or who makes a specific request or how to present it, but I feel we have to do this.
If you bid on a job, let's say I bid on a job and I say I'll do it for $1,000. If it goes to 1,100 or 1,200, isn't it my responsibility to make up that extra money? Or is it the one I'm building or doing that for?
Depends what's in the contract. The contract might say you eat it. The contract might say, I get to charge you extra plus 20% for my trouble for going over budget. So it's what's in the contract.
And I don't even know if we have a contract.
See, I
With
think a lot of
Andy.
this had to do with, we didn't bid at the time everything was going down. We didn't have a chance without losing the grant money. I mean, it was like, either we lost it
So
and
we
did
probably
nothing.
don't have we probably don't have a contract then, do we?
You were on the board when it was approved.
I'm guessing we
I
don't
know.
even have one.
I'm thinking,
Or if Lenny had it, it's gone.
Wouldn't be
Well, we
Lenny.
don't.
Wouldn't be Lenny.
I
it'd be Leroy.
don't think we need to even get too focused on contract or not contract. Because, an email that says, I will do this, and a response that says, okay, yes, I will. Are you sure? Yes, that's good enough for me. We just need to have a sit down. Andy, no, just facts. What still has to be done? What's it gonna cost? How much money is left? And so that we as a board can make decisions to responsibly get this thing done.
I know it's too late at this point, but we need to start having financial accounting and updates in our meetings so that we can make these agreements, because there's a lot of decisions that are being made and without real oversight from the board here. So as we decided, we need to do more oversight, and I think that starts now with all that thing, and I agree.
Yeah, and again, it's not getting into the details at all. It's not what level of floor should you use?
I'll be
or,
part of that.
Should we use a grade 7 paint or grade 6?
Whatever you want, I'll be there.
No, but we owe ourselves, our constituency, just before this thing's done, a timeout to see where we're at. And again, I'm assuming that we'll have to make some choices.
Do you
And-
think it should be like the building committee or the whole board sit down with Andy?
No, not
Not,
the
that-
whole
you
board.
can't, you can't overwhelm them with, no, it's some subcommittee.
I think we have a committee,
We do, we have a new building committee.
right?
We don't have a list, we need a list of what committees we're on.
I can updating though, so I'll have her email everybody this afternoon.
Okay, let's move on then, if we have no
Well,
other.
wait, I don't.
What's that? What do you got?
What subcommittee is going to look into?
The new building.
Okay, but Rollins gotta be there's gotta be somebody with some history. I mean, the new building committee is the new building committee. It's, hey, how do we run this place when it's done? You know, I
Actually,
suggested,
that's not what it was set up as, but okay.
was it met yet?
Yes, it's not.
Okay, well then, I was getting it confused with if there's already a new building committee, great. I thought Bob was trying.
Me and Leroy
Okay,
and
perfect.
Phil and
Excellent.
was there, oh, Mike, but Mike. No, it was, Fairman. It was Fairman. No, it was Mike and Fairman. They're both gone. So it's me and Phil and Leroy for sure.
I would like to be on.
I would support. or
Yeah,
be on-
my idea was, once the new building project committee gets over, then you make a marketing and operations committee, but that's not up, that was just a suggestion of mine.
No, I talked to Bob about me leading with whoever else wants to be on it, a marketing and operations committee, but that has got nothing to do with this topic. That is, how much are we gonna charge for weddings and, you know, blah, 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 blah. So there is a building committee that
There,
already exists.
yeah.
And if we put a new person on it, that's an excellent idea, then I think that committee needs to meet with Andy as soon as possible and bring the board a report. Bill.
Who was the other one? Mike?
It was Mike and,
We
Fairman.
talked about the shortfall,
Oh, Fairman?
yeah, but I
Me,
can't
you,
answer
and
some
Leroy.
of the questions he
And
wants.
somehow or another, we lost both of them for the same reason.
Why don't we put Ty on it?
We can
No,
put Ty
I
in
don't,
there.
I don't want to be on it, just because I got a lot of other stuff going on.
Oh,
Or him.
I mean, I want
I
to
would
keep,
do
I want
it.
to
I
keep,
have a lot of experience with property management and building and all of that. Project management. Budgeting,
I think that's great.
under budget. Doing it over budget.
Hmm?
Everyone's in that committee.
I have, one,
We're not
Question.
there yet.
Oh, sorry.
We still have public comment to go through. I
I
want
want
to
to
make
do
sure
it
Ty's on.
before public comment. It's just a question. I would like to know if maybe we could have Wendy or Patty or somebody put a thank you in the paper to Brad or to Cole's Appliance, thanking them for, you know, we're in this building for 6 months longer than we expected to be, and for everything that Brad does for us. Because, I mean, that man does a ton for us, not only with appliances, deep freezes and refrigerators and whatever. And so I would like to see if it would be okay if Wendy or Patty could put a thank you in the paper.
I think that should come out at the same time as the other stuff does. I don't think you should recognize one person over the other.
Oh,
And then if you do that for Brad, as far as this building, I mean, I don't know.
I don't
Well-
disagree with your sentiment at all.
Me either.
I would just say the timing might be, if you could wait a month or so, it might tie in more with an acknowledgement at a dedication ceremony It might just be a little premature. I
And
mean,
I'm not opposed to waiting a little while, but I do think it would be very
I
important.
was gonna say, I think the last couple meetings you brought that up also, and we kind of,
I think it's important if, I don't know who's working on the agenda for the ceremony, but that's something
He will
why
be acknowledged.
certainly not inappropriate to recognize the person who bought the old building
he
and let us stay there. I mean, that's
It's huge.
That's huge.
He will
And to
be.
me, it's more genuine than, $38 ad in the paper, but I think to recognize him at the dedication would be totally appropriate.
Wasn't it
Agreed.
I heard somebody mention like something about the gym being called? Yeah, okay.
He will
So-
be acknowledged.
He
I
is
would-
going down.
Make no mistake about that.
Well, I think that should be a board decision.
Mhm.
And it would be. I
Because
think
you-
everything would be.
I mean, I would not premature start naming things because I would want to go to people in the community and say, how about we name the kitchen after your grandma for $50,000? That's what
You wanna
people
name
do.
the
You know,
kitchen?
I'm-
No,
It's gonna be
no,
something
it-
that's gonna be nice.
My point is, we should have a plan, not just do that one bite at a time.
I understand, but sometimes the plan, if you make it public, then it's not a surprise. And a nice gesture or a spectacular thing, you can't make certain things public, otherwise you ruin the surprise and the effect. So I understand completely, especially if it's a huge expenditure. If it's not a huge expenditure and it's funded by somebody personally, I would rather not it be public before, because it would ruin the surprise.
Or maybe like after the recording is done.
Well, I'm not trying to ruin a surprise, so I'm not gonna say anything other than to make the statement that naming rights are an opportunity to create revenue if we choose to do that. It doesn't mean you forego that for good reasons. But, the next thing might be different. That's all.
Okay. That it?
Carolyn.
One more.
Yeah, Carolyn?
Clarification for me. Do you want everybody who I'm putting on this guest list, from Nemska, from Lori, from Lisa, all of these, do you want that approved by this board before I do it?
Not the whole board. Aren't you working with a little group of you and Bob and Wendy?
Phil and Dr. Turek and Wendy?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Not going to panic.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we're gonna move to public comment, 2 minutes per person.
You got a whole list.
Judy French. First of all, I want to say thank you, Ty, for all the just comments and things that you brought up today. It's refreshing, and I really am glad that you're on the board. I want to ask that when you're putting together your dedication ceremony, and obviously Mom's gonna be there, but, because it was my grandmother that founded ACCOA, my mother's mother, that's just included in just a history kind of thing, that's included. So I just ask that that's part of it. And then I want to mention about the farmer's market. Personally, I think that ACCOA, Wendy, has enough irons in the fire that we don't need to add something else for ACCOA to do. I think we need a farmer's market somewhere in Lincoln. If ACCOA can accommodate the parking lot, that's great. I don't think ACCA should have their hands in it. And I'm assuming that that's how you would prefer it, because it's just one more thing.
Right.
You know, there's been food things before, and that was, you know, the point about the food bank. When the food bank was run through ACCOA, it was a conflict of interest, because we had, I always say we, ACCOA had a staff person being paid, and that was a program that was serving non-seniors, and that's a no. That's like, doesn't fly. That's why that program had to be done away with. So that's a potential risk if ACCOA took on a farmer's market. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark?
Nothing at this time, thank you. But I do have a family member who's part of the staff here. We do not talk about business at our home. I was a research scientist, and I'm under still obligation of multiple identity product confidentialities. She did not ask about my work, as I was not able to talk about it, just as I don't talk about her work. So, but I find these meetings very enlightening, and I'm hoping that based upon the public comments that were made about the finances, that they are forensically evaluated and nothing be held back in asking questions about where certain fundings were made and by those individuals who made those. It was not brought up until it was brought up as part of public comment today that I'm asking these questions. So I support you guys and everything, but I'm hopeful that a very detailed one will occur and get it published out or get it regardless of how it ends up. So, I know you guys are working hard on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Director's additional comments and concerns.
I have one quick thing I just want to bring up, and I don't know how to properly introduce, but I went to a presentation at the Alpena Senior Center on this, what they call spectral dementia care. And it's a new strategy of how to deal with people with dementia and who are just entering, no matter what kind of dementia it is. And it was very enlightening on how to deal with people in the different stages of the dementia and really give people a way to communicate, and especially under stress. And I think it'd be wonderful for the home care workers. And a lot of the law enforcement were at this training, as well as home care people. And Alpena is kind of championing it for Michigan. And they just have it in Denver. They started this in the UK, introduced it in not Denver, Fort Collins, Colorado, and then now Alpena. And it's a really interesting concept and gave me a whole wealth of information on what I saw my own father going through. So it might be something that we want to talk about and try and bring down here, and definitely get the home care workers educated in.
They do go to a lot of those seminars.
Yeah, so this, yeah,
Around our region.
yeah, so this one is specifically about this, it's called Speckle, and it's very, I think it'd be very helpful.
I think ask one more question. So June 21. So should I be shooting for that day to be shutting down my kitchen now and reopening my new kitchen, figuring out how we're gonna get meals out that week, not letting.
I would say no right now. I would say not at this point, due to the fact, that breaker, they keep updating, and then all of a sudden this is not compatible with that, and it's like, so I would wait just a little bit longer to get it
Well, people are starting to want to vacations and
Well, I guess
I
they,
guess we're just, I don't know.
I'm taking vacation, let's work around it, I guess, but that, you know, if they're gonna take a vacation, I guess they're gonna take a vacation one way or the other, I don't.
Right.
I mean, I was
Well,
told at one job I
when
couldn't
we-
take my vacation in December.
But how are we gonna move? That's the thing too, like, are we gonna have people helping us move, are we moving ourselves? I mean, I don't even have a plan, and I kind of like Ty had mentioned before, people are starting to ask questions, and I consistently have to say, I don't know,
I think
I don't
you,
know, I'm not really sure, I don't know.
I would suggest you work backwards from the 18th of July and put together a plan that starts today. What do we have to do to get over there? To have the place have a walkthrough and a grand opening on July 18th. Some things don't have to be done until the 17th. Some
I'm just
things
talking
have,
about us in general, like, when because I have to notify our clients and different things like that.
my point is, if July 18th, we're cutting a ribbon and saying it's open, it only has to be 99% ready on that day. We understand. But that's a day, that's a day set in stone now. And start working backwards from that. You don't want, if we're gonna be having a ribbon cutting on the 18th, you don't want your staff to be running over there with boxes on the 17th.
Right.
So to me, the 18th's your day. The 18th, plus or minus little nits and nats, everybody goes to work in the new building on that day. That's as good a day as any.
I can't do that.
Why?
I have to shut down one kitchen,
I-
open
I
another
don't-
kitchen.
I got it, so I don't know what the,
I have to coordinate with the seniors, you know, like, if we're gonna send out meals like we did at Christmas, like, send meals out on a Monday for the week, and then
I think that's a great idea.
I
that's what I
understand.
plan on doing, I just don't have like a definite time. Like at Christmas, we notified them and they came back and let us know, like, I'm not
Kind of
gonna
like
be
having
in.
a baby, you don't know when it's gonna show up.
I know,
But-
that's what it feels like.
But again, you asked, is the 21st the day?
Right,
And Phil's saying, I wouldn't bet on that.
right.
We all as a board already said, we're betting on July 18th, so that's your day. And your plan is whatever your plan needs to be.
You know, maybe after this week, and you do the walkthrough, you can say, you know what? Are we ready to move in boxes? Are we ready to move in some files that we have, that we don't use? Are we ready to put some shelving in the storage area? Are we ready for that? We can do that. We possibly could do that. So come June 21st, there wouldn't be as much to do, but there's still gonna be stuff to do.
Right.
But like I was saying, you gotta start, you know, July 18th is the opening. You know, once we walk through the office, we can get a better feel of it. We can get a better feel in the dining room area. You know, once the tables and chairs are out, they're all set up, they're all done, they just have to be positioned. Things like that. So, but yeah, that's what I would recommend. I can't promise you anything. I wish I could, but
Are we going to advertise this stuff for sale then?
not yet. Not yet.
When are we gonna, if we are out of here June the 21st, then is all of this gonna be in here in Brad's way? And is he gonna have to wait for us to move all this out?
Well, we're not gonna be able to move in one day.
I was gonna say, we're not moving in one day, I'll guarantee you that.
That's what I'm saying. Why can't we advertise it for sale right now?
Because we don't know what we're gonna sell yet. Do you know what you're selling?
We're gonna sell all of that, aren't we? We're not
What about the rest
taking
of the
it.
building?
Yeah,
We
but
don't
why
know.
would we
We don't know
reserve
how
it
much
right
we
now
got.
when people are using them for another month, possibly? They could possibly be using it
They
for
can't
can't go yet.
2 people that come in and use that stuff, maybe 5. All right.
We're gonna wait till
Okay.
the last minute and then say we gotta do all this.
At the end of the day, we're gonna be lucky if people come and take this out of here for free. That's the honest
You're
answer.
probably right.
So
It is the honest truth.
if we advertise it, no one will buy it. If we put it on the street corner with a free sign on it, we don't have to sign it. That's human nature.
That is human nature, even if you didn't need it. Okay, if there's no more discussion, I'm gonna make, to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn. I've been crossing my legs for long enough.
Bob, can we give you our binders back? Is that it?
Yeah, or you take out everything you
I know I
want.
keep stealing.